It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is here, and believe it or not, so is Windows 25H2. What's the difference between 24H2? Not much, but we have a list of, quote, new features still to come. A big Xbox segment. Paul will give you a report from the Snapdragon Summit. He's just back from that, and a whole lot more coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, episode 952, recorded Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. You can see the edges of the bubble. It's time for Windows Weekly, the poor name, frankly, for a show that is about Microsoft, although frequently about Windows. Let's welcome our fabulous hosts, Mr. Paul Thurrott of Thurrott.com. He's in Mexico City today. And Mr. Richard Campbell in Canada. It's the North American version of Windows.
Yeah, the very rare one.
Yeah.
How small can I make this thing?
It's a stormy day out there, Leo.
Oh, it's pretty. What a beautiful day. And
there's a bit of white caps. It's the weather's a little mean. You can see fall is upon us.
I see the foreground sunflower has fallen, but there are two in the background which are surviving.
Still holding out.
Yes.
And I should roll you the clip from 2 o'clock this morning when the bear came through and thoroughly inspected.
Gosh. How fun is that?
Yeah, I found a little container of fertilizer and stripped it open and went, this is just fertilizer, and moved on.
Paul is enjoying a fine camote sweet potato in condensed milk. It's kind of a corn liquor.
What am I enjoying? It's a caldo.
Looks good.
Chicken soup.
He went out onto the street and purchased food before the show.
Like, could I get extra chicken skin in that? And they're like, obviously.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, we're very excited because 25H2 is here.
It's actually a thing.
I didn't think it was going to happen so quickly, but...
Well, it is October in 25.
Yeah, today it is. I just, if you remember, last week was the Tuesday of week D. Generally, sometimes these days, I guess we get a preview update, and my expectation was the preview update was going to be the preview of 25H2, and then we would get the final one maybe in October, or it would be shifted over to October and November. But the preview update, which we'll discuss in a moment, I think, right? Yep. Actually came out Monday, so week E, which isn't really a thing, but a little late, And then the next day, Tuesday, Microsoft announced Windows 11 version 25H2 is done.
Wow. So this is not on the insiders. This is like regular Win 11 machines are going to get it.
Let me qualify that. Because Microsoft. So there's like language that one might use, and then there is language that I would describe as accurate. And those two things aren't always, in the same ballpark.
Fair.
So, what they announced was that it would start rolling out, and I haven't seen it yet, and I have more computers here than I'm embarrassed to even admit to, but I also made a critical error, which I will admit to in a moment. I haven't seen it yet. So my expectation, and maybe someone out there has gotten this magically, I don't know that anyone's gotten it, but if you have, let me know, because I believe it's probably a preview update, and the final, I don't know, maybe November. I don't know. We'll see. But it's one of those things that's, happening over time.
Which you do, as Douglas Mann in our YouTube chat suggests, or I'm sorry, Greg M suggests, says, no rush. We just got 24H2. Let's find the other bugs.
Well, so in this case, it doesn't matter. They're actually 100% the same thing. The only difference is the one character in the build number, and then the version number that says 25 instead of 24H2. So they are literally identical.
Wow.
Yeah. And that means this is one of the more exciting releases of Windows ever, really, because, well, everything is so, I was going to say squishy. I guess that's a pretty good word. Back in the day, it would be like, it's August 25th. Windows 95 is available today. You can get it today. We are continuously updated in the Windows world today. And not all at once, right? And so
They're big on rolling updates.
Yep. Like this particular computer, does not have the new start menu. This is one of the things I have to go through. Like this particular computer also does not have the phone length on the side for some reason. It should. And so if you were to make a grid of all of the Windows 11 features and that have rolled out this year, let's say, and then compared them to multiple computers, you would create a patchwork quilt of checks and X's because it really just depends on the computer. There are third-party tools like ViveTool, which you can find on GitHub, and then you have to know the special codes to make it do things. But that can enable features for you, but it's not 100%, right? And I've done that, obviously. I'm trying to get the newest features as quick as I can, but that's not really a thing. Oddly, Microsoft as a company did this update, if you will, which may or may not have actually been delivered to anybody, with a list of new features, right? Which, again, just want to be really super clear on this, are not unique to this release, right? If you have 24H2 and for some reason you don't ever go to 25H2, but you're on a supported computer, obviously, et cetera, but you keep getting those cumulative updates every month, you'll get those updates. You'll get them on 24H2. So maybe someday that changes. But as of today, no. Right now, there are no unique features that are in one or the other. Actually, they took away a couple of features. So I guess, if you go to 25H2, you're going to lose, an old version of PowerShell that nobody should be using anyway and that kind of thing. But for the most part, 99 point something percent, they're identical. So that kind of takes that kind of adds the sad trombone sound to the falling confetti of this, celebrating this release. But it might be worth I'm not going to read this thing through, but Microsoft actually put up a document on their support site explaining what is new, so to speak. None of it's new. Especially if you've been watching the show, you've heard of all of these things. And they do segregate out the Copilot plus PC features, things like recall, which is still in preview, click to do. They're calling it Windows. They really need a name for this. Windows search, like semantic search is what I would call this. The Copilot powered agent that's in settings, which is actually pretty good, by the way. And then the voice access stuff, which is coming to new language, et cetera, et cetera. But if you go through all the rest of this list, it's a pretty long list, but really what this is just a partial summary of the features that we've been talking about for the past several months, right?
They've been moving through the dev and beta builds.
Yeah,
and we don't
erratically, they're pinballing their way through. They're not following some logical trajectory or whatever. And maybe I overemphasize this point, but just to be super clear, and I think this is true of a lot of people in our industry and probably a lot of people listening to this. If you're on, you have ADHD or you're compulsive in any way, you have autism, or you're on some spectrum, whatever it might be, this kind of thing makes me insane. I don't like the Richard, and I think it was on, maybe it was not in Renez, maybe it was on .NET actually. Yeah, I think we were talking to, doesn't matter, I'm sorry. You were talking about determinism or deterministic
non-deterministic.
Non-deterministic. This is non-deterministic. In fact, it's worse than non-deterministic. It's like chaotically random, Yeah. And like I said, several computers here, and it's not funny. It's not amusing, but you bring them up and you get them up to date. They're all bad. They're all in the same build, except for one, which I'm going to get to. And they all have different features, So whatever. I talk about this a lot. I don't need to beat it to death. It's just a constant refrain of our existence these days. It's just the way it is. And it's one thing that is semi-amusing to me is to read the Microsoft explanation of this stuff, because they act like this is completely normal. As you know, we're delivering innovation continuously. You sure are. You're delivering something. I'll give you that. So anyway, okay. So that's happening, sort of, right? I mean, and again, I need more. Maybe it's already happened in the chat. I don't really know, but I don't know if anyone has gotten this. I don't, No. I'm already on. Sorry.
Yeah, nobody. I haven't seen anything about anybody having this yet.
No, they're not saying anything.
I mean, I'm on 25H2 pretty much across the board via various means.
Insider builds.
Insider pro. Yes, and like the ISO stuff we talked about previously. For example, there's been no talk of here's the ISO. If you use the media installer tool, the media creation tool, you're going to get 25H2 now. Like, they haven't said this. I assume most people know that Pavan Davuluri runs Windows and Surface, by the way, right? And he was promoted into that role a little over a year ago, I guess. He appeared last year at IFA at Lenovo's event. I was expecting to see him again at IFA at Lenovo's event, and that's how it happened, right? So this other guy came out I've never heard of, Mark Lipton, I think his name was, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. What is he busy? I mean, why isn't he here? It's weird. We get the guy running like Intel's PC chip business was there. Like, it seems like he would have been there, right? And then last week I was in Hawaii, which, by the way, feels like 9 months ago, and I was there for that Snapdragon Summit, which was fantastic. We'll get to that, obviously. And he'll be here, and he was not there. Stevie Batish was there. Now that's great, and we're going to talk about that too. I love Stevie.
I saw your picture. He must have been having a blast.
Oh God, I love him so much.
Yeah, that was cute. Yeah, it's like you saw a celebrity.
Yeah, I got a chance to just kind of talk to him about like how great he is, which he was not super comfortable
how we
with.
Keep bringing up his build talk.
Yeah, literally some guy. He admitted that he was very happy with that talk. By the way, the one we keep bringing up, the 3-app structure talk. I can't tell you how many times I've referenced it. It's got to be several hundred. I mean, I just keep talking about it. Anyway, so I've been kind of wondering about him, and it turns out he was promoted, and now he went from a corporate vice president to president. And as part of his promotion, his first big move, at least that I'm aware of, is a reorg inside of the Windows organization, and they're bringing back the engineering group, which you could sort of think of as like the core development stuff, the kernel, the stuff around the kernel, drivers, et cetera, et cetera. This has gone back and forth over the years, right? If you know anything about the history of Windows, it was that used to be server back in the day, which was, to me, was like the adults, under Steven Sinofsky, he brought that back in and actually made server somewhat subservient, if you will, to him and the client group for that period of time. And after that was over, they pushed it back out to Azure, which is where the server group effectively went, if you will.
Right, Azure Core.
Azure Core, and also, the adults. And to me, that made some sense. And now they brought it back into client. And I think effectively, I'm not really sure what this means, if it means anything strategically or just organizationally.
I don't see it that way, Paul. I don't see it brought back to client. I see it as unified. Like, really.
Then please, talk to me. What do you mean?
Just the idea that they should be unified, that clearly there's a major new version of Windows coming. Like, how do you get a Windows 12 with this schism, right? Where you have very different sets of motivations from very different teams.
Right. When Terry Myerson was running Windows, the split within client was effectively, I think it was just called Windows Experiences, right? It was the client at UI stuff, right? And then all the features they would add over time, the creators updates and all that crap. And then there was what I think of as the core, the kernel, whatever. And that was under Jason Zander and Azure and that group, right? So to me, that makes sense. But I guess on the one hand, you've got this group, Windows Client, waiting for some deliverable, or they have very specific needs that maybe don't apply to server or Azure.
Totally.
So they have to kind of go hat in hand and say, hey.
Well, it's specifically on the kernel side, right? Like that to me would be the issue. Yep. And the classic one is the problem with the networking stack. Like, Outlook bonks and your whole machine network hangs, right? And you check Task Manager and there's 68 threads dedicated to Outlook. None of them are for you.
None of them for the UI. Yeah, nice.
And and that's a conversation at the kernel level that's really tough to have because it's just a client interaction.
So we ran out of time last week. One of the things I wanted to get to last week, if we could, I'm not going to waste a lot of time on this. It's just related to what you just said, which is Visual Studio, which is this kind of battleship of an application, right?
Oh, yes. That's the polite term.
It's they're revving it now. So the 2025 version that's in preview is, to me, a significant upgrade.
2026 version, yes.
And it's very good. It's better looking and all that stuff, but whatever. But to me, the big thing is the app doesn't hang every time you try to like debug or run a compile or actually run the application. Like that used to be this moment where the whole thing was like, and then it kind of spit out what I was doing. Now it's like they discovered multi-threading or something. Like now it actually works. So I mean, that was a self-inflicted problem, I guess. I don't think they have another group to, point fingers at, or maybe they do. I don't know. But in the case of Windows, as Windows evolves into this thing that actually Davuluri's been talking about, this kind of multimodal interaction model, which I don't know, where it's not just, touch, mouse, touchpad, keyboard, but also just kind of like a lot of awareness that we get through sensors like we have on phones, natural language voice, obviously, and in two directions, right? It's not us dictating to the machine all the time, although that is a thing, but also it coming back and replying to us, and then the agents that run in the background and do things on our behalf. And I talk a lot about orchestration and yada, yada, yada. And for Windows to be an effective orchestrator, for lack of a better term, of this kind of new way of working, which is the old way plus the new stuff, right? Not replacing the old stuff. Yeah, there are going to have to be some changes. And those things don't apply. I mean, you can think, just thinking about it right now, you can tell like those things will never apply on server or Azure, right?
Sure.
This is very much for a one-to-one interaction between you and a machine.
And I got to think that one of Pavan's pitches is, hey, we need to build a really important AI version of Windows. It's all about the client, and we need control of kernel if we're going to make this happen.
Yep. And if that is what happened, I don't have the full memo. I'm not really 100% sure. Obviously, it's very clear to me. There's another memo we're going to get to today that when it comes to Microsoft communications to employees, there's the stuff that they give to employees, some of which leaks. And then there's the stuff they give to employees, but they also publish on their own website. And I feel like those are a little filtered, not the whole story maybe, because they're trying to do the public.
Even the order is sometimes suspect too. Like they kind of put it out in the world so that it can't be no backsies, right?
Right.
Like
that's right.
I've certainly seen that behavior as well.
Yeah. So I like this guy. He is an engineer. Seems like a good person to me, smart. We'll see. I've liked a lot of the people who've run Windows actually, but, again, without knowing the full details, but I do feel like the things we just spoke through are what's happening.
Imagine updates making sense. Like one of the things you're looking at here now is if there's a unified strategy for Windows, maybe there's a unified strategy for updates and insiders. Too much to wish for? Okay, I get
that. Might be the dumbest thing. No,
yes, that would. That's.
I'm kidding. Obviously, it's like it's this. It's yes.
Don't worry, Leo. I'm not bothered by this all. I've clearly said dumber things in this.
Yeah, and I'm clearly joking. But yes, I should say. You could look at various behaviors throughout the Windows org, whether it's the kind of certification stuff that's, in the UI, the OneDrive folder backup nonsense, the forcing you to run Edge, et cetera, as part of that process where, whether they want to or not, this thing has to make sense in the Microsoft as it is today. But now that this is evolving, and wherever you fall in the AI curve with regards to, it's going to kill the world or it's the greatest thing to ever happen to mankind, or in the middle somewhere, it's happening, right? And so, what Richard just said about Microsoft, the client team needing control of the kernel because these are very specific interactions that are unique to Windows client, to me is correct. I think I do think that's it.
I would also debate that server's less important to Azure now than it's been. Like if you look at the population of Azure, just the sheer amount of Linux in it and the customized versions of things and so forth, there's just not the same level of urgency now in terms of controlling server that made sense maybe in 2018.
Right. So when Microsoft announced what was then Windows Azure, I don't remember or know, and maybe it doesn't matter, whatever the exact organization was, but obviously it was built off of the work they had done previously in server, right? Which itself built off the work there. Yes. Yeah, but I mean, but it was, we're going to take this thing and put it in the cloud. Okay, now what do we have to do differently because it's the cloud? And at some point, Azure becomes this amazing multi-headed monster of functionality. It's just astonishing. I couldn't ever keep track of that.
No.
And you get into a virtuous cycle.
They had to do a custom version of Git to be able to put the Windows source code into it. That's how
of course. That makes total sense to me, actually, right? Not because I understand it, but because of course it's that complex, Yeah. But you learn. Microsoft learns things with Azure, and they can apply some of that back to server, and then you get into this, the virtuous cycle thing Steve Jobs used to talk about. It's good. So it benefited both sides. It's nice. And obviously the shared engineering to some degree, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think maybe we're at the point now
Time for a new leader.
Where these
And
things
I'm
can
excited
move
about
forward
that.
on their own little trajectories, right?
Yeah.
And if there's an outlier here, it's client. I mean, and listen, before we had Azure, and this is 20 years ago, I used to make the argument that there was no reason for Windows client, Windows Server to be the same thing from kind of a UI, UX perspective, as long as everything under the covers, meaning all the app compat drivers, yada, yada, was the same. That you could have this utilitarian thing for server, and you could have this crazy, colorful play school thing for people, and you could have one for businesses that was completely different too, and it would be fine because we're just talking UX, and they never did that, obviously, per se, but this is kind of a deeper level version of that. That these products now have evolved. They're doing very specific things, and those things in many cases are very different from what the other ones are doing. So
right. Well, and you remember back in the day, Mark Rusinovich finding the reg keys to be able to switch a client edition into a server edition and disrupting the licensing model in a big, big way.
Hey, he was rewarded for that. What's he running now?
He's CTO of Azure.
Most people would be, was that before or after the DCMA? I mean, what I mean? Like a lot of people would have been in trouble for that. But
it's clearly a long tradition of hiring hackers because
bring that guy on the inside.
Exactly. He's way better on the inside. He's awesome. I mean, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. He might be the smartest person I've ever met. He's a genius.
Truly. Yeah.
And a super nice guy, right? That's a nice combination. Anyway, I kind of wish, after Sinofsky and Windows 8 and all that stuff, that's when he went to Azure, and my God, he's doing God's work, is no doubt about it. But I'd love to have him on Windows for some reason. I can't imagine he would never. At this point.
I don't think that's his focus at all these days. And there's certainly
it's
conversations
not.
I have with him. But listen, the whole idea that Windows has a leader unified, that to me is a big deal, and it's been a while. It's been
literally
since
Steven Sinofsky. Even before, I would say before Terry, only because he was the one. I don't know if he made that decision, but that was when engineering split off and went to Azure, right? Like that was his deal. Like, we're going to focus on the, fixing the UI, which it absolutely needed, right?
Yeah. I always felt like Terry Myerson drew the short straw and got all of the products that were no longer the focus of Microsoft.
100%. And also, we're going to call that part of the company you run more personal computing, because that means something.
Yeah.
Why don't you just call it et cetera? The other stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, look,
he got the short end of the straw in many ways.
All I know is this show just got a whole new band of energy, because if Pavan starts cranking out things the way he could, and we start seeing a really unique version of Windows Next coming down the path, we're going to have a lot to talk about.
It seemed really odd that Core OS was in Azure, of all places.
But that's where the real engineers were doing that type of deep level work. It's as Microsoft kind of grew and expanded, especially during the cloud era, a lot of the guys that would have been doing that kind of stuff in Windows went to other parts of the company. And at some point, it just didn't make sense, I don't think, to have separate engineering organizations that would still have to work together, obviously. So they put it under Azure.
Well, and there was all that pressure around Windows 10 to do rapid iterations. Like, there was a lot of experimentation that went on with Windows. And part of it was sort of shaking up the engineering culture. I remember having a drink with Larry Osterman a number of years ago when all this was going on. And I'm like, this is kind of nuts, dude. Like, what are they doing? He's like, listen, there's a lot of 30-year plus veterans inside of the Windows team. And unless they have 8 wives and a cocaine habit, they don't need the money. So how do you manipulate these guys? Like, how do you push them to change in any way? And I'm like, all right, that's the best line I've ever heard ever, Larry. You're the best.
Yeah. I've never met him in person. I love him, by the way. I've watched his presentations.
He's fantastic. But he moved to Azure. He left the Windows team after 30 years to go work inside of Azure. Of course he did. Right? Like,
because that's where people have careers. They have whatever you want to be fulfilled day to day at work. I mean, you can see externally. I mean, imagine what it's like internally, where as the focus shifts away from the thing that you're doing, like what that feels like. It's like, do I hear an echo in here? Like, what's going on? Like, am I alone?
Yeah. The last thing you turn off the lights as you leave. Right?
Actually, before you leave, just hit the compile button and walk out. Nice. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Make sure you push.
So, oh God, the stuff is all over the place in the notes. Unfortunately, there's another big reorg happening. Well, reorg. I don't know if
do you want to pause here and get to that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
This is a good time. Thank you.
We will pause and continue. You're watching Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, and a big day. I think this is a big story. So we'll get more to come in just a moment. But I do want to tell you about our sponsor, 1Password. You know, it's more than just passwords these days. Over half of IT pros say that their biggest challenge is securing SaaS apps. And part of it is because of shadow IT. With the growing problems of SaaS sprawl and shadow IT, it's pretty easy to see why this has become an issue. Thankfully, there is a solution, and it's from 1Password. It's something new they do called Trellica. It's part of their extended access management suite. Trellica can discover and secure access to all your apps, whether they are managed or not. Trellica by 1Password, it inventories every app in use at your company. All right. Then pre-populated app profiles, and they have them for everything, assess the SaaS risks. They give you the power to manage access, to optimize spend, to enforce security best practices. And it's across every app your employees use, even the ones you don't know about, the shadow IT. You can manage shadow IT. You can securely onboard and offboard employees. That's nice. And it meets compliance goals. Another, big check box. Trellica, that's what it's called. Trelica by 1Password provides a complete solution for SaaS access governance. And this is just one of the many ways that extended access management helps teams strengthen compliance and security. Of course, you know about 1Password's award-winning password manager. It's trusted by millions of users, over 150,000 businesses, from IBM to Slack. And now they're securing more than just passwords with 1Password extended access management. Of course, security's job one at 1Password. They're ISO 27001 certified. They have regular third-party audits and this is really important, the industry's largest bug bounty. 1Password exceeds the standards set by various authorities. It's a leader in security. So take the first step to better security for your team by securing credentials and protecting every application, even unmanaged shadow IT. Learn more at 1password.com/Windows Weekly. That's 1password.com/Windows Weekly. It's all lowercase. 1password.com/Windows Weekly. We thank them so much for making Windows Weekly possible. Now, let's continue on with the endless reorg.
Monday, we got the preview update for Windows 11 version 24H2. A bunch of stuff in there, but all the stuff we've already been talking about. There's no reason to beat it to death. Probably Friday. I don't remember anymore, but whatever day, Microsoft put us some preview builds to dev and beta, so 25 and 24H2 respectively. Nothing major here, but these are features that are coming to both versions of the OS in the coming month or two. I don't know, it's not worth discussing. It's like you can access a network speed test from that flyout, the quick settings flyout, Wi-Fi and cellular quick settings pages. But it just loads Bing and does if you would search for it in Bing, it's like that, you would
have got the same result. I love that.
Exactly the same. The Get Started app was updated with a page that describes Microsoft 365 Copilot, the app, which to me is an advertisement for why you would uninstall it. And then if you have a Copilot plus PC, there is we need a term for this. Maybe we have a term. It's like the AI glow that you get around things in Windows, Android, and iOS, actually, Apple OSs. It's kind of that pink, purple, little sparkly thing that I used to associate with like unicorns flying in space or whatever, but
it's either magic or hallucination. And the hallucination is a particularly good term.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, did I eat a mushroom by accident? Like, what's wrong with my phone?
You know what? I like the universality, I guess, of this. Like, there's a phrase about like people, when you're about to die in the desert, you haven't had something to drink in 3 days, you're stumbling along, you see a mirage in the distance.
That's it.
You only see that mirage when you're doing that. You don't see it when you're in Whole Foods buying oranges. Like, the mirage only appears when your brain is like, you need this.
You're desperate, yeah.
And Microsoft has just done that for all of us all the time. Like, we don't need this, we don't want it, and you're getting it anyway, so enjoy.
Yeah, no, it's coming.
Did you see a sparkle? Yeah, no, it's on all the screens. It's the one thing that's actually consistent across Windows. Yeah, so they added a sparkle. I don't know what the term, a halo, whatever the hell it is, to the little.
Let's go with sparkle. I like sparkle a lot.
Yeah, an AI sparkle.
Yeah.
To the search box to highlight it, to let you know, hey, you should use this thing because now it actually works. Because I think people have been ignoring it for so long because it wasn't working.
Yeah.
The Photos app is getting what I assume is the first of several related updates where it will auto-categorize your photos for you from a set of 4 categories. Mm-hmm. You don't get to edit them. You don't get to change them. You don't get to add your own. Those are the categories.
We know best. Yeah.
It's probably because even they would probably agree they don't know best. But what are those categories? I'm trying to find the list. Sorry. It's like, I don't know why you think that'd be the easiest thing in the world to find in my own article. Anyway, 4 categories. Who cares? It's identity. I can't read it. Notes, receipts, and something else. Screenshots.
Nice.
So, okay. I mean, it's fine. You can recategorize something that will help train the model. It is, I should say, Copilot plus PC only again, but obviously they're going to add the ability to add remove. It's like when they added the one tile to the lock screen, you're like, what is this thing? And then they added 2 more, 3, 1 more, and another one. You're like, okay. And then eventually it took a year or more, but they let you determine which ones were there, which order they appear in, et cetera. So that's how we do things now.
Okay.
Half-assedly.
Well, first version too, so maybe they'll fix it by the time the next version comes along, or the screaming noises finally penetrate into the bubble. Yeah, that's. Listen, I'm in an optimistic mood today, Paul.
I was going to say, man, I don't know what's going on with you. You had got a lot of sleep last night. I mean, no, good for you. Yeah, that's going to come up again in the show. I'll just leave it at that because the screaming that you're going to hear from the user base is quite pronounced this week. Yeah. And then I did that. And then so you may know, and this is another one of those things that gets kind of over popularized or promoted in the sense that I feel like people today who write news or are using AI to generate it for them are always looking for that little hook where they can get people just to go and read it, right? So it's more about page views than it is about actually relaying information. And Windows 10 and the extended security updates program for individuals is a lot like that. I think it was last week or whenever we talked about this notion of should Microsoft extend this for everybody? And I kind of, the way I described it was like, I kind of see it both ways. I see both sides of this in the sense that because Windows 10 is Windows 11 fundamentally, it shouldn't be hard for now.
There's no real justification on a cost perspective.
That's my feeling.
And if you cared that much, you wouldn't have made the Copilot plus PC so isolated. That's the harder break than the difference between regular Windows 10 and regular Windows 11.
Yeah, trying to discover the true motivation behind things is often interesting. But on the other hand, 10 years, that's been traditional. That was something Microsoft's been doing for a long time. It wasn't formally the case, but they did it. And now they're extending it for a year. They've never done this for individuals. It's free. Now, as originally envisioned, it wasn't going to be free, but low cost. Then it was going to be free, but you had to back up your computer to cloud. Well, to OneDrive, essentially. To the Windows backup app, which backs up like nothing. Mm-hmm. But in our little community, of course, that's outrageous. This causes people to lose their minds over this stuff. I don't see it as an onerous requirement, but whatever. So I see both sides. But in the EU, they have, I don't know if you know this about Europe, they have some regulations and laws that are
weird
about privacy and competition and all kinds of stuff. And so Microsoft, prodded by the EU, meaning like a cow prod, is just going to make it free. So you don't even have to have a Microsoft account. You don't have to back up. I saw
Consumer Reports asking for basically the same thing too.
Yeah. That's what all right. So maybe that was 2 weeks ago when you were out, but yes. And so we had a lengthy,
we talked about that on all the
lengthy discussion.
And Stacey Higginbotham wrote the letter. So I know. By the way, the EU's forcing this underscores the fact that Microsoft can do it.
Yeah, just like the EU forcing Microsoft or Apple to make their app store open proves they can do it, and that the 18-step scare screen thing they had was not necessary. But look, this is the problem. You have a company that's kind of marketing their own thing, and they have their own aims, and you have regulators that are pushing at them, and you've got people like us who are maybe just consumers or consumer advocates ourselves who want things to be free and fair, and well, not free, but fair, let's say. There's a lot of different things going on, but I just, the one thing I did say about the Consumer Reports thing was, in a world in which we have phones that are not updated for as long as Windows just was, by the way, none of them. And the cry about e-waste is a little bizarre to me, because I think phones are actually, not that it's not a problem, but why did you take a stand on this one? Like, if you could look at like an iPad or something and be like, yeah, Apple supported that thing with 8 years of updates. You're like, great. Well, that's less than 10 and less than 11. And what about data e-waste? Anything? No, you got nothing. You don't have a little editorial about that for some reason. I don't know. I don't get it. So whatever. I thought it was a weird targeted thing on something that I don't think is the biggest problem. It's a problem. I do acknowledge that. Anywho, so last week I was in Hawaii. I had to think about this. Where was it?
Yeah.
We got home at 4:00 in the morning on Saturday, and I'm doing great.
And home being Roma Norte.
Yes. I've been meaning to talk to you about that, by the way, but Richard said that, just a quick, I don't remember if we did this on the air, if it was you and me or something. I said something about going home one time. He just did it again. He's like, oh, what do you mean by home? What does that mean? And I'm like, well, I'm going back to Pennsylvania. He's like, well, how do you define home? And I'm like, I have two homes. He goes, let me ask you a question. Where do you own real estate?
That's home.
Just cuts to the chase. So correct. I own real estate here, I guess. I don't know, but we just bought our place in Pennsylvania. So
you did?
I've been,
Did you buy the apartment that you're in there?
Yep.
Okay.
Because we've moved before and it's terrible, and that was the easiest thing. But yeah, my wife made that happen. This came together in a 2-week whirlwind of paperwork.
This was a family thing in the first place. So you're fixing some family.
It's the only way. The only reason it could have happened the way it happened. The only way. So yeah. Anyway, I always think of you when this thing comes up, because I say, I'll say it and catch myself saying it. Yeah. And I'll be like, well, man, Richard will catch me on that one. And he just
that's great. You have
paying attention to your friend.
He's now one of the upper class with multiple homes.
Oh, yeah, he said no.
Yeah, so I own a closet here and I own a walk-in closet there.
Need to qualify it.
So I guarantee you, Leo, in your house right now, you have a closet that's bigger than this apartment. I guarantee.
Well, I'm sure I do, but
he doesn't have all the walls.
But I only have one home. You have two homes.
Yeah.
I have friends who say, the North Carolina house, or then there's a New York house, and then there's the LA house.
So.
That's multiple homes. I
don't know how other people I know what this makes me sound like. I know because I just wrote a thing about this. It's just a stupid stream of consciousness thing, but you'll be out in the world here, you sit at a bar or something or whatever, and you start talking to people, right? They could be locals, they could be Americans or wherever. How long are you here? We're here for a couple of months. Really? It's like, where are you staying? Over in Roma Norte or whatever. Okay. Airbnb, or did you use some other thing? It's like, you're like, okay, no, I have a place. They're like, hey, you have a place. That's incredible. And then you go down this thing and it's
jealous.
I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to talk about that. I just, you know what I mean? I don't know.
We're just jealous, Paul.
Well, don't be jealous, because that means I always have to come here. So, it's hard for me to do other things, It's okay. Anyway, which, by the way, part of that conversation is, I said to this person, I'm so sorry, I'm exhausted. We just got off the plane, and at 4:00 in the morning, he's like, oh, where were you coming from? I'm like, oh boy.
Oh, it was a work trip. It was a work trip.
That's the thing.
You don't need it.
I said, well, we flew in from San Francisco, but we were in Hawaii. He's like, Hawaii, really? And I'm like, well, it was a work trip. And he's like, really? And then for my wife, she was just hanging out at the beach, reading a book. She had a great time. I was actually really busy. And then I said, yeah, I used to travel a lot for work, and I don't travel as much. I said, in fact, this year I've only traveled for work. He's like, oh, where else did you go? And I'm like, Berlin. He's like, dude, who are you? And I'm like, please stop. I can't have this conversation.
James Bond.
Yeah. It's just, anyway, Richard travels way more than I do, and I don't know how he does it. I travel so poorly.
I have been jet lagged the entire time. It's a normal.
I feel like for me. I've been jet lagged my entire 50s.
Yeah.
Is how I feel, Anyhow,
Wait till you get to your 60s, Paul. That's all I can say.
I don't know if I'm going to make it, Leo. Let's see how it goes. Let's not plan too far out ahead.
You're on your way.
Okay, so I was in Hawaii.
You were in Hawaii. I remember
for the Snapdragon Summit, which was fantastic. It's funny because it only really boiled down to two announcements, right? There was the chip for the phones, which I don't care that much about, but awesome. And then the chip for the computers, which I have to say I care quite a bit about. Yeah. And there was this moment about a year and a half ago where I had gone into New York to see prototypes of this. What was that? What is the first gen Snapdragon X chips, right? And it was there that we learned there were going to be multiple SKUs. And then I don't think they mentioned plus SKUs at that time, but they certainly did later in the year at IFA, right? So now if you look at that product lineup, they probably have 8 or 9 different SKUs across the 3 tiers of chip types they have, as first gen Snapdragon X. So that March trip to New York, where I finally got to see the first prototypes of those first gen things, was the moment for me where, oh my God, like I think they actually did it. And then I spent the next couple of months in a holding pattern, waiting for that one little the thing, like where they're going to prove, like, oh no, they screwed this up or something, and it never came. Like those chips are amazing. Nice. And so for the second gen, they actually had those prototypes at the show. And so, that gives me a little hope that even though it's not happening till next year, maybe it will be earlier in the calendar year than like mid-year, right? And we'll see. No one's ever said anything about that. But these are major double-digit improvements across all the core types, like CPU, GPU, and NPU.
What do you think of for a second generation chip?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And they're in an awkward place right now and they're going to be again, by the way. But when they came out with the first gen chips, they were talking about M2, and then of course Apple shipped M3, and it was like, and they actually perform pretty well comparatively, but they aren't as good. And this time they're as good as the M4 stuff across the board because Apple's just about to release the M5.
And so comes out. Yeah.
And so we'll see. But the point is they're still competitive and they're doing great, and they've made major gains across the board. 80 tops, NPU, et cetera, et cetera. Just as a quick thing, one of the things I deal with are these people who refuse to believe that anything is real. And I had said for the first gen, the same thing that a guy from Qualcomm said to me literally about the second gen, because they said, people are going to question these numbers because they're really good, Mm-hmm. And he said, listen, we can't lie about this. You guys are all going to benchmark this on real computers.
Yeah, we'll know.
Like,
you'll know
if we're lying, you're going to find out in 2 months. So, which is part of the reason they had prototypes there. Now, these are prototypes. They're going to be thicker and have awesome cooling systems. Maybe this is not completely accurate.
And a 1% yield, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's like the crowd that doubts everything. I just find this guy really pushed me on. I don't know he's pushing me. I'm just reporting it. But, they're doing like 2x comparisons across the board to competitors. And then for some reason, when they got to GPU performance, they said it was 2.3x performance per watt compared to the previous generation. And he's like, what are they hiding behind? What is this? Like, metric. He was freaking out.
Yeah.
And so I said, look, you gotta remember the big deal with the first gen was not just that it was efficient and ARM, but that it could compete with modern current gen, x86 chips.
Right.
And what they were trying to highlight is the thing I think is maybe the single most important thing, maybe the most magical thing about these chips. Or maybe it's what's broken with x86, come to think of it, which is that when you unplug an x86 computer, the performance drops dramatically, especially with Intel. The Intel chips right now drop by almost 50 or maybe more than 50%. When you pull the plug out of a Snapdragon computer, it doesn't drop. It does drop point something percent. It's tiny. So it runs as good, as fast, if you will, off power as it does on power. And so the reason they did that, I was told, because I asked, was for that reason. They want people to understand we're actually more efficient and more powerful. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, but just high level. What are we talking about here compared to real world, blah, 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 whatever. He goes, oh, this is 2 times faster than everything else. He's like, yeah, it's twice as fast. I also met the guys.
But it's even more power efficient than it is twice as fast.
That's right. Just raw performance. Forget about efficiency. It's twice as fast. Mm-hmm. There you go. Well, no, not there you go. That was a guy from Intel, but I mean from Qualcomm. But I also spoke to the 2 guys who had showed him. I can't remember the name of the company. I'm sorry, but they do some of the big benchmarks. and they were there to oversee the benchmarking. They had never been to this event before. They've never dealt with Qualcomm before. And I just happened to sit with them at the luau thing they have at the end of the show. And I'm like, let me ask you a question. And I went through the whole thing I just did. And I didn't tell him what the guy from Qualcomm said. But I said, you've been doing this all week. He said, two of them, they said, this thing is over twice as fast as anything we've ever seen. We have never seen anything like this. And they were blown away. And I was like, yeah, there you go.
Exciting. That's great.
It's really good. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to have, laptop gaming machines that are, they're still kind of easing into that part of it, but
We still got the software issues.
but it's, it's getting there. They've got the anti-cheat stuff is happening, Fortnite's coming soon, et cetera, et cetera. So, we're going to, and look, the proof is in the so-called pudding. We'll get computers. We'll see, we'll find out. But not only did I not see anything alarming or anything bad, it was way better than I thought it was going to be.
Nice.
My only disappointment is, can we get it right now?
Yeah, and 2026 is what's killing you. It's not going to be
that's the
you
thing.
want it for Christmas.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't maybe I talked about this last week a little bit, but I wrote about it since. And just real quick, it's like I came here only with ARM devices. So I had 2 ARM laptops, Windows, an ARM-based, obviously, Apple Silicon MacBook Air, and then several phones, because I'm reviewing Pixel phones, which are not Snapdragon, which is a huge problem. But but ARM-based. And I had several examples of what it's like, which you have to understand for a person like me, coming up in the x64, x86 world, whatever, with Windows, don't get a lot of this, like things actually just working. The example from that March trip when I was in New York, when I finally got to see the prototypes and saw this is really happening. They were doing a little presentation ahead of time. There's a thing up on the board, and I wanted to capture it in the notes I was taking, but it's too much. So I took a photo of it, and I thought, man, I wish I could get this into my notes. I got to remember to do this, but I was like, wait, something Apple, something continuity, or whatever it is. I'm like, I wonder if I could copy and paste this, and yeah, it worked. That was magical.
Wow.
I did the same thing during the keynote at the Qualcomm event, but using a Pixel phone and a Windows laptop, because when you have Phone Link, you actually get that capability. And you get a notification that comes up every time you take a photo. So I could take a photo, download it to the computer, post it to 4 different social media accounts at the same time, and keep going. And it was great. This thing was recording the meeting, taking photos, uploading them to my computer. I'm on my computer doing my thing. And awesome. It's awesome. So there's a future in here.
You're starting to feel like stuff might actually work.
Yeah. Yep. And I didn't link to this. Sorry, I forgot. I guess I did it too late in the game. But I got an email from Qualcomm last night. I think they've noticed how on my other side I am in this topic. But ARM Holdings had sued them, remember, 3 or 4 years ago because they acquired Nuvia. And what they were trying to do was get Qualcomm to pay for the Nuvia license in addition to their license, basically doubling the amount of money that ARM made off Qualcomm. And Qualcomm was like, yeah, no, we have lawyers too. No, thanks. And no one thought this was going to go to trial. It did. It lasted 15 seconds.
Yeah,
Total victory for Qualcomm.
Dumb.
2 things that came out of this, though. There was a remaining issue where Qualcomm was still questioning whether Nuvia violated their patents as well. Nuvia does not exist anymore, but they were going to pursue that. And Qualcomm's position was, we don't have a position. We weren't part of that. That was a different company. We didn't make those decisions. We don't know anything about that. But the other one was that Qualcomm sued ARM and said, you guys lied on the stand. You purposely tried to prevent us from competing effectively, even though we're your biggest partner, because you want to produce products that compete with ours across the board, like data center, PC, et cetera.
Sure.
That later issue is going to go to trial in March, by the way. So we'll see. I'm guessing Qualcomm's going to do pretty good because those guys lied on the stand, including the CEO of ARM.
Yeah. The question is, do they settle?
Yep. Well, they didn't last time. Maybe they'll learn a lesson. So the Nuvia issue was decided by a district court in Delaware, and they found that Nuvia did not violate ARM's licensing agreement. And by the way, that company doesn't exist anymore. Yep. So Qualcomm's description of this is, and I quote, total litigation victory.
Nice.
ARM's response is actually, we're going to appeal this. So I guess it's not completely over yet, but
I don't know how you get to say final judgment when there's still appeal. So, yeah, good luck with that.
I know.
And also make a deal. Like, what are you doing?
Yes, I want to across the board make a deal. I feel like this industry as a whole should look at what Microsoft did with antitrust in the late 90s, early 2000s, EU and the United States, and say, maybe there's a lesson to be learned here, and we could apply it to lots of things like the DMA. And
the simple one is winning a court case is like winning an earthquake, right? Like nobody's winning anything. You're just spending a lot of money.
Yes, and so in this case, literally case, hilarious, they should never go to trial.
No.
The case that Google lost against Epic, the judge literally begged them, would you settle?
Yeah.
He ordered them to have a mediation separately and say, I don't want to see you guys here again. You're going to lose.
Yeah.
And they didn't settle.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Willful.
Yep. Crazy. But Apple's being super belligerent across the board everywhere. Google is to some degree because when it comes to App Store stuff, they're just lockstep with, Apple. That's what they do now.
Yeah, I just kind of wonder if there's a sort of there's a state for law right now. Maybe the LLM threat is making them all crazy where it's got to litigate, got to litigate. I don't know.
You guys probably know there's a term for this, but I believe this might still exist in Japan today, but certainly in the 1980s when they were perceived as this big threat to the United States, especially in electronics, there was this notion that Japanese companies compete, but they also cooperate and they prop each other up.
Right.
In a way that in most places would be illegal for antitrust reasons, right? Collusion and market, dividing up markets, et cetera. This is absolutely...
You're talking about Keiretsu.
Thank you. I actually didn't know the term, but I figured there was a term. And this is what Apple and Google are doing, right? Remember when Steve Jobs was still alive, it was total thermonuclear war. Today, Google is paying Apple $26 billion, 25, 26, whatever it is, every year, and everything's fine. No problem. Whatever day last week, I think it must have been Thursday, Friday, Apple came out with this giant statement about how the DMA is broken. You got to fix this thing. And 2 seconds later, Google had an exact duplicate of that same argument, same length. They were calling for a reset of the DMA.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, these guys are colluding. Like, it's just, they're just like, they have so much to lose.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, can we share some legal strategies here? Like, how are we going to get over this? Here's how, settle.
Yeah. Make a deal.
Meet us halfway. Because if Apple was charging 10% on App Store fees, you wouldn't hear anything about Apple in the App Store these days. You wouldn't hear anything.
No.
So, anyhow.
Just quietly make your money, for crying out loud.
Yep. I think these companies get addicted to numbers. The numbers meaning literally profits, but also margins and revenues and growth, right? Which is...
The CEO tells us we can't tell the shareholders we did anything other than grow. And you will do your promotion and bonus is dependent on making sure we grow to the expense of everything rational.
We are one of the top 5 most profitable companies on earth and have been for a decade. Everything's great. Our businesses are mature. No one's leaving. Everything's great. Yeah, but are you growing? Well, no. I mean, we're flat because everything's great. Yeah. Down the toilet. It's the stupidest. It's a big problem. Yeah. I'm not an economist, obviously, but it's a big problem.
I am ready to do a little break if you are, and continue on. We're going to talk about AI and so forth. While you've been talking, I've been assembling, and I am now complete on my...
You made a checkerboard, and that's fun.
I made a little checkerboard, and I put in my Noctua fan and my clear panel, and it was pretty easy.
Noctua fan? Was that like an upgrade?
Yeah, well, you could choose your fan, but I bought the Noctua.
You went for the spiffy. Is that a 120 or 140 fan?
You're asking me now after I put it in. I don't know.
I'm guessing you got the 140.
Look how big it is. It's
huge. Yeah, so it must be a 140.
And the reason you want a big fan is because they're quieter, right? Bigger is quieter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then they move more air.
Yeah. So anyway, look how cute little thing this is.
It's brilliant.
So I'm ready to power this up and install Windows 11.
It looks like HAL. It's like HAL 9.
Hello. I don't know why I bought this module. Ethernet module since it. Hello. It has Ethernet on the back. It also has HDMI and plenty of Type-C connections and all that stuff. So, it's even got, I didn't even see that display port. So
a couple of DPs.
Yeah. Nice little box. This 128 gigs. It's an AI machine. This is the AMD Ryzen AI Plus 395, I think. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just proud of I've been doing a little handiwork while you guys
It's pretty
busy.
It's actually
going to be a good Windows box, Leah. I'm just saying.
I've owned a few framework laptops. They make it really easy. It's going to be great, isn't it? I can't wait, man. I just can't wait. I won't tell them what I'm going to do with it. I was thinking this is a little like a local AI machine, but we'll see. We'll see. They actually have they have an article on the framework site about using it for local AI. So that'll be interesting. Anyway, I want to take a break. We're going to come back with more. You're watching Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott, Richard Campbell, and the handy Leo Laporte are showing.
Sorry.
It's funny. It's like there's something called like the IKEA law that economists noticed. If you build your own furniture, however trivial and easy it was to do, you feel a love and an ownership for it that transcends the actual value of the furniture. And I'm sure that's what Framework's thinking. We could easily assemble this, but let's let them do it. They'll have fun. And then they'll feel better about it. Our show today brought to you by another little project that I've been working on, Zapier. I've talked about Zapier before. I love Zapier for automating workflows. I use Zapier every day, maybe many times a day, because when I bookmark a story out, I'm going through my news checks and I bookmark a story in raindrop.io. Zapier, which connects, by the way, to thousands, I think it's almost 8,000 different apps. Zapier sees that there's something new on raindrop.io, automatically posts it to Mastodon, to my twit.social, to the news links, but it also makes a line in Google Spreadsheets because it understands Google Docs really well and makes a line in Google Spreadsheets, takes the data from the bookmark, puts it in the spreadsheet, and that makes it easier for producers then to build the rundowns for the shows. It's just Zapier's about automating things, but now Zapier is even better because Zapier now has, among all the apps it connects with, pretty much all the AI models, ChatGPT, Anthropic, Claude, Gemini. And that means you can add a little dash of AI into your workflow. Otter AI. Maybe you like a podcast, but you don't have time to listen to it. You can have Zapier automatically download it when there's a new podcast, run it through Otter AI for the transcription, summarize it in ChatGPT, and deliver to you the key bullet points. In any form you want. Zapier is remarkable. For the last few months, we've been talking about AI, and I know a lot of you use, Copilot. And by the way, Copilot's also available to Zapier and are using it in some simple ways, the ways Microsoft kind of sets up for you. But man, when you have Zapier, suddenly the sky's the limit. You can use it and put AI to work across your company in a variety of ways. Zapier is how you can actually deliver on your AI strategy, not just talk about it. Zapier, think of it as an orchestration platform. You can bring the power of AI to any of the infinite number of Zapier workflows. So you can suddenly take your Zapier workflows, and they have, by the way, a whole bunch of them in the Discover tab. You can see so many of the things people do with Zapier, and add AI to it and do more of what matters. You can connect ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot to the tools you're already using, so you can add AI wherever you need it, whether that's AI-powered workflows or an autonomous agent, a customer chatbot. If you wanted to build your own, Scarlett Johansson AI bot, Zapier could make it possible. They also have a lot of customer-facing possibilities, customer service chatbots, things like that. The point is the sky's the limit with Zapier. Zapier's for everyone. You don't have to be a tech expert. Teams have already automated, get ready for this, 300 million AI tasks using Zapier. I am a huge Zapier fan. I have been forever, and now Zapier is even better with AI. Join the millions of businesses transforming how they work with Zapier and AI. You get started for free by visiting zapier.com/windows. That's zapier.com/windows, all lowercase. I've been using Zapier forever,
And now with the addition of AI, I can think of 100 new ways that I want to use it. It is fantastic. Highly recommended. Zapier.com/Windows. It's easy to use and very powerful. Often those two don't go together. Thank you, Zapier, for supporting Windows Weekly and supporting our workflow. This baby going to be doing some working. Let me tell you, my knock to a fan going to be blowing hot air. I hope I put it in the right way. They said label down. That makes sense. There's no arrow saying which way.
So I want to thank you for using the word orchestration in there.
Yes, I did that for you and
Thank
Stevie.
You.
Yeah.
I'm crying a little bit. It's okay. Also because I coughed up a lung. So but cute, it's okay.
Let's talk AI, shall we?
You, man. Sorry. Yes. So this one came out of nowhere. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, suddenly with an asterisk, announced today that he was moving, changing, transitioning many of his responsibilities.
What?
To someone named Judson Althoff. Althoff.
He's pulling that Daniel Ek.
Marith.
Stepping back.
He's the holiest of institutions. No, anyway.
Marriage.
I'm sorry, Judson. Sorry. My name is terrible too. It's okay.
Judson Althoff. It's probably Althoff.
Yeah. So maybe you guys know, this has been a trend at Microsoft lately. This is another one of those things, for the kind of ADHD kind of techie guys. They can't stand this. Doesn't every company just have one CEO? It's like Microsoft has multiple CEOs within the company. So they're CEOs of their respective businesses. Remember, like Phil Spencer was like head of Xbox, actually COO of Xbox. There's the gentlemen who run their various AI businesses are CEOs of those businesses, right? I don't know. To me, this is just the title. I wouldn't worry about that.
He was EVP commercial office for
commercial means what? He's basically a sales, part of the sales.
It's business, government, education, like everything that's not consumer.
It's a sales job, though, right? That's his position.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing: like they don't say it this way, but well, let me say what he said first. I mean, so Satya Nadella, in his words, is going to be laser focused on Microsoft's highest ambition technical work across data center build-out, systems architecture, AI science, and product innovation. Where this group that he is working with, the engineering leaders, will lead with intensity and pace in this kind of generational platform shift. Okay, but what's Judson going to be doing? He's going to be running the business. That's what it sounds like. Microsoft's sales, marketing, and operations businesses are all under him now. Microsoft is not as transparent as they used to be with regards to the various sub businesses within those core, the core three groups and who reports to whom and yada yada yada. And now as they announced the Microsoft AI organization about a year and a half ago. I don't remember even the name of the one they announced last October. They're referred to as organizations. Mm-hmm. They're not like I'm looking for a diagram of the structure of their business, and I'm not seeing it, right? So it's kind of unclear. But this is interesting, And this is an example of one of those things where this was a letter to employees, but also a letter to the world because they published it on their website, right? And so it's it's maybe a little more targeted. Plus, they know if they put anything out there, they're gonna it's gonna leak. But it seems to me, because Satya Nadella, and again, I'm not an economist, and I'm also not a corporate structure expert or whatever. But Satya Nadella is the CEO and chairman of Microsoft. I mean, he's the chairman of the board. And it seems like the CEO is the person doing that other stuff that he's now not doing, and that maybe he's just the chairman and he could do this kind of strategy, innovation, tech stuff. And it's, I don't know, maybe the optics of him not being CEO or just would be bad for Microsoft financially or something. But, and we don't know we talked about motivation. We don't know the motivation behind this. Was this something he decided that he wanted to do? Was there pressure from below that maybe you're not paying enough attention to the business and paying too much attention to the technical end or whatever? I don't see that from the outside, by the way, but we don't know. So this is a curious thing. So I'm kind of wondering where this goes. I also want to point out, because I did my article, he used 2 exclamation points in one sentence, and I find that a little, no, a little tough. I don't know. So yeah, this just happened. I don't know. I haven't seen any perspective on it. I haven't heard from any employees who maybe have some of their own perspectives on this. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but
there's been a wave inside of Microsoft of turning EVPs, which seem to be the top of the stack, into presidents.
Yeah, and that's what happens to Pavan, right? He's now a president.
Yeah, he's done that as well. And there's been a bunch of them. So it's literally the thing I think is interesting about when they create a stratum like that is it's more of a question of, why are you still an EVP? Like, how, it's a way to sort of say who's important in the company right now and who's not.
In the early days, what you used to see was proliferations of product managers and what was the other one called? Product and there was another one. There were 2. Mm-hmm. One was technical, one was more marketing and communications, that kind of thing. Vision, whatever. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm literally coming off a horrible cold, so I'm still kind of paying for it here. But in recent years, meaning probably in the past 15 years or so, it seemed like there was a giant proliferation of corporate vice presidents. Like for a long time, that was like the big title, like you would see all
CVP.
The time. Yeah, CVP, very, very common. Mm-hmm. Now, Microsoft is in the midst of an effort to downsize, but also to lower the number of layers between things, right? So it's possible that what we're seeing is tied to that in a way that maybe there's the strata is no smaller than it ever was, but there are fewer pieces of strata, if that makes sense, or layers or whatever, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I do think you're seeing a way to identify senior leadership and to sort of shake out, should you stay? You don't go around laying off EVPs. It's just bad for business.
I mean,
what you do is make them
exactly.
uncomfortable enough that they go do something else.
Yes. And that's something else is almost always meta right now. But yes, 100%. Yeah. I know it's not great, but I will offer a potentially complementary viewpoint of this, which is that Microsoft is coming off of a tough half year of layoffs that I think were badly mishandled.
Yes.
Badly communicated.
And we're net zero, according to the annual report.
Yep. And had the added awfulness of not making any sense at all. That were in many ways just not justifiable. Like it just didn't make sense. So what I see here, again, maybe you're influencing me, Richard. I'm looking at the bright side of things right now. Is him leading by example. He has been saying for years now, we're transforming. Mm-hmm. He's tried threatening. He said things like, look, you need to understand we're doing AI. And if you're not on board with this, you can leave. Like we are doing this. We'll do it with you.
And the other part is the focus part. Right? Yeah. Like one of the angles on the cuts where you guys are working on things that aren't important, which clearly means you have too many people. So now you have fewer people.
Also, one thing we've talked about repeatedly just the past, this year, I would say all year, you listen or you read, in my case, usually, or listen to their quarterly call after the earnings reports. And and because I was here, it was probably July. I guess, it must have been July. So for the first time in years, I actually listened to the call because I happened to be here at the time. The day is shifted because of the time change and it just worked out. I'm like, I'm just going to listen to this. And I came away not with the first time, because I've read these things too, and I think I said this to Richard privately. I don't remember the conversation, but I was like, is Amy Hood running this company? Because there were multiple examples where it was almost, I guess it's a bit of an exaggeration, but almost like Satya was like a child, and he gets to speak first, and then she's like, that's cute, Satya. Anyway, what's really happening is, and again, I'm exaggerating, but you got this multiple times. You can listen to it yourself, read it, whatever, but times where I sort of felt like she was setting the record straight after he spoke, right? In the guise of, the way those people always speak. I'd like to add a little color to that, Satya.
I mean, we are talking about a public company. The CFO is, that's Amy, does have certain requirements in place. And so clarification is appropriate, but I listen to it too. I've heard that pattern. That's, you're a bit out of control. Let me rein that in.
Yeah. Right. So right. I think anyone who listened to it would hear it too. I'm not inventing it, but, and look, these people have different roles. I get that. This is going to seem like it's off topic a little bit, but there's an excellent video on YouTube that might be from CNBC or maybe the Wall Street Journal. You can look it up, but it's It's trying to explain what happened to Intel. But the guy who explains it is a financial expert. And what he does is looks at all the decisions they made. So pre-Pat Gelsinger, a lot of it was just done for like stock buybacks, prop up the stock price, not doing much in the way of, anything in the way of innovation or tech, but just running the company as like a cash exchange kind of a thing.
Sure.
And
if you keep buying back shares, the shares that remain are more valuable.
Right. And so his thing was like, this is, I'm just AI summarize it. It's like short-term gain, and then you screwed the company. Like you just screwed us. And it's a fascinating viewpoint. I don't know enough about that world.
Yeah,
but
the argument is you should have put that money to work making more money. And instead what you did was buy back stock to keep the stock price high.
Well, yeah. So someone might argue that is one way to make more money. Okay. But the short term and long term. Yeah. Part of it is investing in R&D or the next manufacturing process at your foundries or just bringing your foundries up to date, whatever. And they let that stuff sit for 10, 15 years. I mean, they really just kind of sat on it. They also missed, they missed mobile, they missed cloud. They obviously all failures are really, failures of this scale are I'm going to say multimodal because I don't know. I'm an idiot.
Because AI is steeping into you as well.
Exactly. It's like polluting my brain.
Yep.
Okay. Look, this week, and by the way, just today has been, it's only Wednesday, but it's been monumental. There are at least 3 or 4 stories in here that could have been the top story. This is one of them. The last one was one of them. Microsoft announced a new offering for individuals called Microsoft 365 Premium. It sits above personal and family in that group of subscriptions, right? It has the same basic layout, if you will, as family, meaning it works across 6 users, terabyte of storage for everybody, all the Office apps, et cetera, et cetera. But it's also replacing what was called Copilot Pro. Copilot Pro essentially being the consumer version of Microsoft 365 Copilot. It was $20 per month, not $30, but it was basically the same thing. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription, you pay for this thing, and you get all these additional Copilot features with the Office apps. Now they have this thing that has that and the subscription. So for the same price per month, $20, you're getting everything you got in family, right? 6 accounts, all the apps, terabyte of storage for everyone. The little asterisks, the only problem I have with this is the AI features as in family are only for the account holder. They're not for everybody.
So not for everybody.
That is not okay. I feel like we're going to get there. It's sneaky. It's sneaky to the tune of a little number in the quote that's in light gray that goes down to a footnote that explains this. It's like, you had it. I mean, you had it. To me, what this thing should have been was family, but AI for everybody.
Right.
Right. So I'm not going to get this exactly right, but I feel like.
Well, the real piece here is, and then I have control over what my children see. They've not done enough with the potential on family here.
Yeah. So
about kids tools and governance,
I feel like
and so forth.
We're seeing the first steps in that direction with this thing because there's a couple of other little things that are interesting here. This is not the right term, but Microsoft essentially indemnifies their corporate customers against anyone suing them because AI created something. They don't actually indemnify them, but there are legal protections that they provide you. They also have enterprise security standards that they apply to all of the data you're exchanging with AI, et cetera, et cetera. They're bringing that stuff to consumer. Now, it's interesting because it's really not consumers. It's individuals who, yes, are consumers, but really what we're talking about are creators, power users, et cetera, entrepreneurs, whatever the term you want to use. They're allowing, not that look, everyone was doing this already and no one really cares, but they're essentially licensing these Office apps to be used for work, right? This is a little gray area, but I mean, you could start a small business today, buy Office in a box, and you could use it for work. No one's going to stomp on your door or anything, but that's the thing. So you're also getting more than you were getting in family. So family, remember AI credits and all that nonsense, whatever. So that still exists, but the levels are all much higher in premium. Again, only for the account holder. You're getting the deep research stuff. You can use the AI agents as they come. So it's a more powerful offering. I think the thing that sells this is if you did feel the need to pay for Copilot Pro, this is the same price, but you're getting the whole thing. And so if there's probably 3 of them out there, but if there's a family out there where multiple people are paying, maybe they have family, which is like, we'll call it $100 a year, and Copilot Pro for 2 or more people, which is $20 a month, you could make a very compelling case for these people, drop the family, have everyone just sign up for premium, get their own premium and go to town, you know.
And that's what it sounds like. It's $20 a month per person if you want.
Per person.
Copilot.
Exactly. Yep. Which sounds, when you come at it from family, you say, well, hold on a second. Family, if you broke that down, is like $9.99 a month. Mm-hmm. And I had 6 users, all of whom got a terabyte of storage, all of whom got all the Office apps and all the perks and all the stuff. And now you're telling me it's going to be twice as much, but for one user, essentially, to get all the stuff.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's one way, but I'm looking at it more from we just had Copilot Pro. And look, a year ago in August, I wrote that I will not pay for an AI article, which is misunderstood in some ways. But this maps into this to me because I don't want to pay for something called AI. I don't want you to tell me, like, I bought a graphics app and I could have AI-based font smoothing if I paid for this other subscription, right? To me, that's a feature of the thing I'm using. So I don't mind, and I think hundreds of millions of people do it. You pay for Microsoft 365, which is a subscription. The features that are AI based to me are the types of features we used to get, not for free, but as part of the thing we were paying for. And now you're telling me I have to pay for another thing to get those. That rubbed me the wrong way. This to me, at least makes sense. You know, if you don't want this or need it, they're not killing the thing you're using. You're fine.
No, but now I'm thinking if it's $10 for family,
I know,
and an extra $10 for one of the Copilots, like charge me another $10 so both parents have Copilot and don't need it for the kids.
I am with you. I think we get there. I think this indicates we're going to get there. They're adjusting on the fly, and again, and to put myself into the uncomfortable position of defending this company, which has moved chaotically over the past 2.5 years, starting a firestorm that they created. This at least makes sense. When they release Copilot in 22H2, before 23H2 comes out, and then they move the icon around 3 times, they literally change the app structure 8 times. They change it from a sidebar to a floating app to a resizable thing to a blah, blah, whatever. That feels chaotic to me. Yes, they've changed these subscriptions a little bit over. It's not as spastic as what's happening in Xbox, and wait till we get to that. But but this feels more mature, and it feels like a step in the right direction, right? Also, we're going to talk about this next, but Stevie Batish, right, of the Build 2023 and 24 talks we always talk about, with his 3 app structures, right? Tied to that, I view this as Microsoft moving. I'm going to call it Microsoft 365. What I still think of as Office into the inside app structure era, if you will. It's not really an era. Meaning there are these 3 app structures that Stevie identified for us. He didn't invent them, I don't believe, but it doesn't really matter. Just the way Microsoft views the world. And that the first step to getting this out is to have this beside the app structure, the Copilot, where you have the app you've always been using, Microsoft Word or Edge, whatever it is. And then you have the sidebar on the side or another app, and that's the Copilot. It's side by side, beside app, right? The second structure is inside the app. And this is either a newly written app, maybe from the ground up. They'll see some of that, not really on Windows per se, but you will see some of that. But more likely, it's going to be an app that was just re-architected or reimagined or re-added to, whatever you want to say, modernized, right? That where the AI kind of moves into the app. And that's, I think, what we're seeing here. It is what we're seeing. So tied to this, a couple of days before they announced this, they, and I don't like this phrase, but they referred to something called, I miswrote it in the notes. I'm sorry. Vibe working, I think was the term, or vibe. Oh, where is this thing? It's just, vibe working. Oh. So in other words, by adding AI inside of the apps in Office, starting, it goes in steps, right? And so it's the 3 core Office apps for creating documents or content, right? Word, PowerPoint, Excel. It's the web versions first, because those are the easiest to update, right? You just do it once, it's there. It will come to desktop, and I'm sure it will come to mobile, but they've explicitly said it's coming to desktop. With agents that work on all the language we know. We don't understand it yet because we don't have a lot of good examples of it, but agents that work on your behalf. So there's an Excel agent, there's an overall Office agent. In Word, we're going to call this vibe writing. I'm never going to call it that. It'll be the last time I ever say that. But and look, as a writer, you might think I think this is horrific and a crime against humanity, blah blah blah, whatever. But honestly, the one thing I do know as a writer, because I look at writing all day long, is most people can't write, and this helps. And even people who can write well don't always get there quickly. Writer's block
is a thing.
Yeah, it's not my biggest problem, but
no.
I have multiple examples of documents I've started where I write 3 paragraphs, a couple hundred words, go down, and I started and I go down again, and I work through it until I get to where I want it to be. Anything that could help me or anyone through that process, to me, makes sense, and it falls into that kind of productivity world that are these apps. I mean, this is so fine. I mean, this is fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be fine. And so when I wrote about this today, it kind of occurred to me, if you think back again, because I will never stop referencing this, the Stevie Batiste 3 app structure thing, because the third app structure is outside the app, and this is agents. This is when the UI diminishes over time and goes away probably in time. And it's just agents working on our behalf. This is where the natural language stuff makes sense. We don't have to have an app, with a frame, with controls. Like, we talk to it to do this thing, it does that thing, right? In some ways, you're pulling a feature out of what used to be a very monolithic app, right? Or maybe a set of features. You're orchestrating it, right? To do those functions and come back with something. And when you're doing that, in the case of, say, writing a document, maybe the application that we call Word today at some point doesn't come up anymore. It's just a bunch of services that are based on things that Word did back in the day when we were still cavemen writing on computers. And so those are the 3 structures, right? Beside, inside, and outside. And it would be logical, again, ADHD suffering from this, you would think of this as a progression. We go from beside to inside to outside, and that's the way the world evolves. But the truth is that we're going to have all 3 of these all the time. That's the world. We have agents now. They're basic. So the third one's already starting to happen. Mm-hmm. Microsoft is moving some of its core productivity apps into the second of those structures. There will always be, we can call them legacy classic apps if it makes you feel better, but whatever. There will always be apps that you have to use beside functions, right? I use a Markdown editor to write. And one of the things I could use is a plugin maybe, or just a Copilot type thing on the side that can look at what I'm writing as I'm writing and help me with it. And that editor maybe will never have that built inside of it, but that thing on the side will always be able to help. So maybe it's a little less sophisticated perhaps, but it still works, right? So we're going to have all these things. Just like today you have native apps, desktop apps, web apps, mobile apps, modern apps, whatever kind of apps on your Windows computer, Linux apps, you could have Android apps for a few more minutes, whatever it is. AI, these AI apps is a tough, we're going to get past the term apps too. I'm not sure what to call these things. As services really to me, but AI will also be, promoted, accessed, whatever, used in multiple ways, right?
Yeah. It's just a feature. It's going to show up everywhere. It's going to be embedded in things.
And it might be different everywhere, but it will be there, right? We'll be able to get those things, So, yeah, I'm going to look at this. If this thing had given full AI rights to everyone, I probably would just move over to it, right? Because I do have family right now. But my wife is the one who uses Copilot, not me.
Right.
And she could use this. And
she doesn't want to be the primary account holder either.
Well, the problem is I am I don't know, maybe you can switch, but the Microsoft 360, this is something I should be managing, frankly, right? My wife doesn't care about this. But more to the point, it's kind of grandfathered in through the next couple of years, right? Because sometimes you get a computer that has a few months where you could add it to it, whatever. So I've been doing that over the years. And, if I could turn, we'll call it 2 years of family into 18 months or whatever the figure is of premium, I would do it if she got it all, but she doesn't. So I can't. Cynically, you might look at this change because they got rid of the paid thing. And remember, this is only, I'm going to call it consumer just to make it simple, but it's only on the consumer side. Like Microsoft 365 Copilot continues. It's still a $30 per month per user add-on to whatever
version of M365 you're
using. Not changing that. I feel like that has to change in time. But
now that you've offered basically a $10 version.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So, and the problem is,
if I was an IT guy, I'd be looking at this going, can I switch the company over to premium?
Well, they just licensed family for work. I mean, no. I mean, look, obviously, there's a lot more going on in the Microsoft 365 space than these core apps, and there's the whole management, security, whatever. There's a lot of stuff, identity management, right? But fair enough. So I do think that happens. There's also been lots of evidence that Microsoft 365 Copilot has not done well as a business.
Right.
I don't know if you guys know this name. He's not familiar to me, but his name is Ed Zitron or Zitron.
No, sure, yeah.
He's a
I know Ed Zitron.
Yeah,
he's been on our shows. He's an interesting guy.
He's
the AI is doomed guy.
There's a number of them.
He's the AI sucks guy, is how I would say it.
Yeah.
There are a number of them. I will say he is wordy to a degree that makes me look like someone who just tweets
Financial
things.
Times just did a profile of him. And he's getting a lot of attention as a result.
Yeah.
He has a podcast, and we've had him on a couple of times.
He really comes out of marketing. He's like a PR guy.
He's a PR guy.
Yeah. But
and he's very vigorous.
Yes, he is. Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Some of his numbers are not good.
Okay, right. Well, all right. So he does some math here, and I kind of followed along, and I'm like, yeah, maybe. So his contention is that, and by the way, it's just, I think it's like 18,000 words condensed down to 180 words,
and
which
a lot
is really
of profane. I might add, he's
100%. Yep, I've had to asterisk out a few things when I quote him.
Yeah.
It's just like whatever.
This is his shtick.
I'm just trying to position it. He has a lot of commentary about a lot of things, but the one thing I want to highlight here is that by his math, there are only 8 million paying customers for Microsoft 365 Copilot, and none of them are paying full price. So
where does he get his numbers? I mean, how much is that number?
I'm just throwing it out. The reason I paid any attention to it at all was because we have seen other things pointing in this direction.
Sure.
I did look up what I could of what he said, and it's like,
what if he's right? What would that mean?
What it means is that if he's right, 1.7% of that customer base is using this thing actively and paying for it. So that's bad. That's really low. And by the way, the one thing I didn't mention about this Microsoft 365 premium offering was the sheer number of times they mentioned ChatGPT Plus, specifically Plus being the $20 per month version of ChatGPT, which by the way is going gangbusters.
I pay for them all. I get Copilot, don't I, with my Microsoft 365? So that's how I pay for it. I would think there've got to be more than 8 million Microsoft 365 subscribers.
No. There are hundreds of millions of commercial subscribers. There's 150 to 200. I don't remember the exact number.
Don't they
all
get Copilot?
No, the commercial ones have to pay for that extra.
Oh, it's just the commercial ones that have to pay.
Well, no, until fairly recently, even consumers did too, right? So at some point in the past year, they switched the consumer subscriptions to if you were the account holder, you got AI credits, because we have to go back to Microsoft points for a certain number of AI, I'm going to call it transactions, for lack of a better term, every month. And if you found yourself exceeding those on a regular basis, you could upgrade to Copilot Pro at the time, which was the $20 a month extra. So now they've added it into a core part of the suite. Everyone gets something now, unless you're not an account holder, by the way. And so what they're saying here this is true. I mean, you could pay $20 a month for a ChatGPT Plus, or you could pay $20 a month for this thing and get all the Office apps across all your devices, mobile and desktop and web, 6 users, all with a terabyte of storage, and extensive rights across all the Copilot capabilities, including the deep research stuff or whatever. So, but again, they're partners too, right? Like, you see a little bit of this rift between the two companies where they're like, hey, this thing we have is a way better deal than the thing those guys, whoever they are. And we it's interesting. You might look at this change that they're making. You might look at the way they're positioning themselves specifically against ChatGPT Plus. as a cynical kind of reaction to the reality behind his thing, which is that maybe the 8 million figure is inaccurate. Maybe it's a much bigger number. Maybe it's double. Maybe it's 3 times, whatever. But it's still a small percentage of the overall base is his point. And, well, is my point, I guess. And I think that maybe, it's fair to say Microsoft's part of the chaos is throwing stuff against the wall and see if anything sticks. And in Microsoft's case, it feels like nothing has stuck.
Yeah.
Microsoft hasn't had their nano banana moment. They've had, we do everything ChatGPT does. Hello? Anybody?
Don't you love us?
Anybody?
Why not?
No, I mean, the best they can hope for these days is like ambivalence. I don't think you find enthusiasm on Copilot for whatever reason. I can't speak to it. I don't know, but I feel like it's probably it's got to be in the ballpark. Level.
The devs are one thing, although they also are enthralled with Anthropic.
Yes.
But when you talk about the public consumer, I've done a couple of Rotary clubs now. Right? So it's 25, 30
I already know
older people.
I know what you're going to say.
It's 100% ChatGPT. It's 100%.
And
ChatGPT.
that's how this is how I could always this happened. I use this example when the iPod, I could tell it was big when normal people started asking me about it. People didn't care about tech. Where you're like, this thing is a breakthrough product. It has nothing to do with tech.
They're not saying AI. They're saying ChatGPT.
That's right.
It is Xerox. It is the brand.
It's striking to me how many people I know. So these are extended family members, friends, whatever, who pay for it. Mm-hmm. That's astonishing.
Yeah.
But they see that value. And it's...
Is this a failure of marketing on Microsoft's part, or is there actually a difference in capability?
Maybe. I mean...
I understand why people use Claude Code, although... GitHub.
No, but that's a very specific. That's a very specific market. I'm talking about like just general consumer, right?
Because I understand what you're saying, and I'm wondering why they don't.
Because Microsoft's not a consumer brand. Right? They just aren't.
And OpenAI, I don't see it personally because I look at their stuff. I look at the way they market. But somehow this company and this product have resonated with normal mainstream people who are not technical.
And I should point out, for the first time ever, they have now done mass advertising on NFL football. They're actually buying ads now.
Okay. Well, because growth's not coming from nowhere.
Right.
That's the thing. Their growth has been so explosive. It's like Azure for many years.
It's somebody said I think it's true, the fastest growing consumer app of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It did 100 million users in 2 months.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the kickoff. That's the technological trigger.
The number today is 400 million somewhere.
Yeah.
It's somewhere. It's big.
It's pretty impressive.
Well, they didn't maintain the trend then.
Now, here's what Cory Doctorow says.
I know where this is going. Yep. Yeah.
He says that basically that AI bubble, I'll show you the article. This is a pluralistic, is driven by monopolists who've conquered their markets and have no more growth potential, who are desperate to convince investors they can continue to grow by moving into some other sector.
Right.
Which includes, of course, crypto, blockchain, NFTs, blah, 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 and now superintelligence. He says AI cannot do your job, but an AI salesman can 100% convince your boss to fire you and replace you with an AI that can't do your job. Yeah. And when the bubble bursts, this is his point, the money hemorrhaging foundation models will be shut off and we'll lose the AI that can't do your job. And you will be long gone, retrained or retired or discouraged out of the labor market. No one will do your job. So he says AI is the asbestos we are shoveling into the walls of our society, and our descendants will be digging it out for generations.
I love it. All right, so two Pennsylvania references here.
Pretty good. It's coal, man.
We'll call it the coal industry. No, I'm not
coal
going there at
steel.
all. No, I was going to say, so in Pennsylvania, I don't know if this is true in every state or if you suspect there might be asbestos in something you're trying to sell property, and it's at a certain age, and you test for it and find it, you have to fix it, and it's hugely expensive. But if you think there's asbestos and you don't look for it and don't say anything, you don't have to divulge it, talk about it, do anything. You don't have to worry about it. So that's kind of, the asbestos thing is kind of hit home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But a month or two ago, I brought up, there was someone who might be listening today who we were talking about data centers. And I was talking about how they're building like warehouses where I live are the big thing. They're everywhere. The trucks are ruining the roads, traffic problems. It's a big problem. But now the big build out that's occurring, of course, is AI data centers. Mm-hmm. And these things are going to be the new the place we go to film post-apocalyptic movies, because they're all going to be empty doing nothing because we don't need this capacity. And they're going to build these humongous things. They're going to bring 3 Mile Island back, whatever. The Earth is going to be radiating like a red star from space. And then it's like, just kidding. It was a bubble. And he had written me and said, they're doing this in my town. And him and his son and a bunch of other people went to one of those meetings where the township in Pennsylvania, a different part of Pennsylvania, has the developer come and they talk about all the benefits to the town. And the questions are things like, well, where's the water coming from that's going to cool these things? And it's like, it's coming from the same place you guys get water. I see. And the electricity? Oh, it's coming from your electricity. Okay. And how many jobs are we going to get from the community? 0. I see. And I was saying to him via email, this is the type of thing, when you run a township, it's however many hundreds of thousands of people. There's no industry here, right? The farmland stuff is gone. I mean, it's still there, some of it, but it's not big business, and it's not a good business. It's not a profitable business. Most of these people are growing things that will become feed for animals that will then be raised in a factory farm somewhere. It's terrible. So a lot of the farms are disappearing. Housing's going up, warehouses are going up, whatever. So my fear for him and for his community was that, of course, they're going to say yes. They're going to get millions of dollars, whatever. It feels like we're winning the lottery. But I'm happy to say, because he told me that they have decided to say no to this company. They're not going to put a data center in their township, and good for them. Because
the other thing they're finding is that they're noisy, right?
Yeah.
They really should be. Right now, they're taking over light industrial, and they should be zoned heavy industrial. Like they should have to be further back from residents.
In the same way that we have these suspicions about high power wiring causing cancer, et cetera, you live near a data center, and it's like, do you hear that?
Yeah.
It's like this constant like hum in the background that would drive you insane.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, another great post-apocalyptic setup. Nice. That's what turned the people into zombies, Anyway.
Well, the other part about being heavy industry is I also have to have a working deal with the power company for monitoring and controlling power. So the power company gets to tell you when you dial it down, turn it up, which we obviously need. Like, we have to start recognizing that these data centers are factories.
Without even understanding what a black hole is, I think most people would probably agree that they are the black hole of power and electricity. I don't know.
They are essentially heating up rocks with your electricity and then cooling them down with water. That's what they do.
Oh, like a sauna, but the size of a football stadium times 5.
That's right.
That makes sense. Does it make sense? No, that doesn't make any sense. But so anyway.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate people seem to be catching on, and folks are showing up to those meetings and putting pressure on their municipalities.
If this had happened a year or two ago, I bet that would have sailed right through.
Yep.
Because they would have been like, oh my God, this is great. We got nothing going on here. We could use this money. Sometimes you don't understand what you're throwing away.
Yeah.
So plus, people were like, well, where's this thing going? I mean, am I going to see this from my house? It's like, do you live in a town? Yeah. Well, yeah, you're probably going to see it.
It's on the other side of the road.
It's like,
right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is normally this is what zoning's for, is to say, hey, this needs to be set back from residential areas. It has to be out of audible range, right? Like,
yep. The problem with Pennsylvania, though, is in many places you can make this case. In fact, there probably is a legal precedent for protecting forests or wetlands or whatever it might be. Here, what we have are lands that were destroyed for that years and years, decades ago, to turn into farms. So, like in Massachusetts, if you built a new community of homes like McMansions, right, and you tore down the woods, built them, you'd be like, what did you do? There were these old growth trees here. They're gone. Like, what are you doing? Here, a lot of places, we don't have that. They're farms. Those trees are already gone.
Right.
So it feels like, I don't want to say ideal because it's a terrible word, but you're going to build something. You're not destroying trees or whatever, or rivers or whatever might be there. Like, that was gone already. So it's just flat sitting there doing nothing. All we're getting is the weird corn that keeps growing every year for some reason because it was in the ground or so. It's just, it doesn't hurt anybody yet. I don't know.
That
Yeah, that we know so far. Exactly. The kernels are as hard as a rock. They're brown for some reason. But yeah, it's a weird thing. Anyway, I'm glad to see any data center be denied at this point. And he said
when the bubble, the important part about a data center is that in the end, it is land, a structure, a whole bunch of concrete, and power lines pulled into it, and water supply pulled into it. The computer equipment will be changed routinely.
Oh yeah, even if the thing goes gangbusters for years, that's going to keep getting replaced.
Sure.
That's whatever.
And in the end, cloud consumption is going to grow whether AI plays or not. Like the other side of this is pre-pandemic, it was getting really hard to build data centers. Like these companies who are only spending cash, right? Like they're not leveraged at all.
Which is his point. These are only monopolists that have the richest companies on earth. Are the only ones that can afford to do this. Mm-hmm. You know, in bring up Massachusetts again, former kind of factory towns, you know, they would have like, you know, water-based turbines and things that would do manufacturing of materials and whatever. Yeah, it was before my time, but those things get turned into condos and apartments and everything. And there's a kind of a natural. It's like at least we can use the building and like it's okay. And some of them are historic in a way, so it's kind of cool. They can change the inside of it. It looks historic. It's nice. I mean, we're going to do this with like data centers. We're all going to live in a little like server cage.
That's a lot of lofts.
Yeah, it's a lot of little, little closet. Like, where do you live? I have one of those Japanese like or hotel things where it's like a coffin. I don't know. Maybe. I'd rather see it's not.
It's my AI talk has definitely pivoted towards, hey, we're in a bubble. What's it going to look like when it ends? And clearly, I'm not alone. Like Dr. O's there, lots of folks are saying like you can see the edges of the bubble now. And sooner or later it pops.
Speaking of AI sparkle, the inside of the bubble sparkling. What is that?
Yeah.
This is depressing.
Sorry. That's what I bring to the table, Leo.
There you go.
You feeling good today?
But you
I got a couple of things to tell you
if you want, right?
Mm-hmm. God, where is that?
Like further down.
Actually, before we get to that, let me do just a quick pause for station identification. Remember they used to say that? Mm-hmm. You're watching the Mutual Broadcasting Network. No, you're not actually. I don't think you're watching Windows Weekly.
I begged you.
All up and down the network line. Let's pause for station identification. This is the TWiT Broadcasting Network.
Just from Europe.
You're watching Windows Weekly. That's Paul Thurrott. To his left, Mr. Richard Campbell. I am Leo Laporte. We are glad you're here. Let's continue on. You mentioned that you got a selfie with Stevie Batish.
Yeah.
Such a great guy.
Pretty exciting.
I wasn't envious of being in Hawaii. I wasn't envious of the Snapdragon, but you got to hang out with Batish. Now I am.
Yeah, I mean, very briefly, but I was super happy to see him. And well, I mean, kind of tied to that thing I was talking about last week. Like, at least I could say to him, like, look, I just need you to understand like how great you are. Like, you know, and this guy who works for him was like, would you just shut up? Like, just stop. Anyway, so he appeared in the product keynote and was talking about, you know, obviously these are a new gen of Copilot Plus PCs with
he does look like a rock star, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's great. He's just amazing, you know.
Yeah.
He's just so casual and great. Like one Stevie Batish story years ago when he was on Surface, right? They had come out with the initial Surface Book, which didn't close flat. Remember, it had that kind of gap opening, really kind of a teardrop shape where you could see through it. And I was always worried, you know, like maybe a pen would get in there and scratch the screen or something. You know, I never actually had any problems with it, but there's a big product showcase thing where all the computers and the peripherals are everywhere and you can walk around and talk to people and whatever. And Stevie was standing there and I just walked up and I said, hey, can I just ask you a question? I said, I know you guys are super proud of the hinge and this thing and all this stuff, but I said, I have to imagine the goal is to get that thing to lay flat like a laptop. And he goes, oh, yeah, totally. He says, what we're working on. And then this woman grabs him and says, nope. No. And she grabbed, you know,
bad Steve.
He's just, you know, plain spoken, right? Like, I really,
he's honest.
Yeah, I love stuff like that.
By the way, I love it because you posted this picture on your Instagram and 0 comments, which means your family and friends were baffled. Who's this guy?
Who is that guy?
Sure.
What?
It's funny.
You had to say Stevie and everybody else just shut up.
You guys probably know this because like on Instagram now they show you like how many views each of your pictures have.
Yeah.
And I'm not Instagramming with a purpose. I'm just,
you don't care.
I'm not making money on it or anything like that.
And I follow you on Instagram because I love your pictures of food and fun and family and all that.
But it's funny what drives like views, right? So I could do something like if right now I'm podcasting, I could take a picture of this thing. It would be like 2,000 views, and then a picture of something, like an awesome monument, it would be like 3 views, like it's weird.
It is unpredictable
what people, kind of gravitate toward. But anyway, but Stevie's great. And so he, he spoke at the show. And one of the things I think he said it in the talk, but one of the things he certainly has said that week was this notion of concurrent AI that, in pushing the MPU from 40 plus, I think the Qualcomm one was 45 first gen, to 80, it enables concurrent AI, which is what it sounds like, right? I guess it was single threaded before, I don't know, like you just do one thing at a time, basically. I thought we figured out this sort of task slicing thing like decades ago, but whatever. I mean, so, okay, cool. He said something very interesting. Someone had asked him about what his favorite AI features were that were on Copilot Plus PCs, right?
Right.
And, I would have expected he'd be like, oh, click to do, maybe semantic search, whatever. And he didn't mention click to do. He did mention semantic search. But the second of the 3 things that he said was just so unexpected. I just thought it was bizarre. He talked about co-creator and Paint. And I was like, wait, what? And to me, that is one of the things that highlights the problem with local AI, which is that it's not as sophisticated as the stuff you get in the cloud. And because pictures are visual, it's super obvious, right? So if you go up to Microsoft Designer or whatever you use for image generation and type in some prompt, and you get this photographic quality masterpiece. If you do that inside of a local AI version of it, like in Paint, in this case, you get a kid's drawing that you would hang on the fridge. Like it's ridiculous. But the way he described this was as not deterministic. I always forget terms. He described this as the reason it wasn't so much the implementation. It was just like what it was so different. He said that most prompt-based AI interactions are command, response, command, response, command, response. Mm-hmm. And that you're kind of, you sometimes you'll just accept the first thing you get back. You're like, oh, there you go. And then sometimes you'll be like, well, this is close, but could you ... And he was saying that this was more of like a stroke-based thing. In other words, when you have a pencil or a pen in the app, and that it was a cooperative interaction, not ask-answer. And he thought this was fairly unique in this way. I'm trying to think of the term he used for this. It was not deterministic. It's something very close to that. But he thought this was very powerful as kind of a concept. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay. He also kind of, someone mentioned the talk, right, from 2023. And they said, you talked about these 3 app structures. Where's outside the app? Mm-hmm. And he says, that's agents. Which Microsoft has actually said before. I kind of knew the answer to that one coming into it, but I just want to say, he was like, yeah, no, that's what agents are. And he says, look, we're early days in that, obviously, but the kind of increasingly canonical example of that is you get an app like Photoshop, or basically any Office app, if you're not familiar with them, that are these battleships of commands and functions and whatever. How do I do a thing? And I know just because I follow Microsoft over the years in Office, they've tried to address that, right? In many ways, repeatedly. Right? And you can talk about things like, I could ask Copilot in Windows today, hey, how do I turn on dark mode? And it will tell you how, and then you have to go do it. And your reaction is, just do it. Like, don't tell me how to do it. I'm not trying to learn how to fish. I just want to get the fish. The settings agent does that now. The settings agent in Windows 11 now, which I think is a Copilot plus PC only feature, is actually shockingly good. And what I mean by that is it sounds stupid. It sounds pointless, but the way the UI works is you can often do the thing right there in the drop down. You don't even have to go to the thing. Like it's pretty cool. But of course it's me. I was sitting there biding my time. We were talked around this and no one brought it up. And I was like, I have to ask about orchestration. I have to ask. You said, which is my favorite thing that people say to me. But you said, with this laser-like memory of something from 18 years ago, which I don't remember saying, and I probably sounds like something I'd say, I don't know, whatever. So, but I said, you said, that when you were explaining orchestrators, that Windows was an orchestrator, for the computing tasks of the time, Windows is orchestrating resource usage, et cetera, right? We don't have to worry like on the old classic Mac about assigning an amount of memory that an app can use. With this app, the system does this. You don't save memory. You just let it be used. Like it just works, And so I said, look, I get it. I said, we get 3 app models. It's all happening. Great. But I said, when's Windows going to become an orchestrator for AI? Because I feel like this is the thing we were talking about at the top of the show when Pavan took over engineering, and we're talking about natural language and changing the way we interact with computers, et cetera, et cetera. What's needed, and I see this big picture, I see this granular level, I see this all over the place. But we need orchestration. We don't need is click on the drop down and choose an AI model, because this time what I want is a deeper report about a subject. Like asking a human being to do that, it just seems like the stupidest, just unsophisticated,
Right.
So unfortunately, I did not get any details because, of course, right? I mean, he's not here to blab about Windows strategy, right? I mean, but he did. He talked around it, I guess, is the way to say it. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean, he said what he could say, but he's so cool. He kind of said, he goes, we have a couple of insights that I think will help you down to see where this is headed. This is kind of the way he said it. And one of the things he talked, and this is one I can't say I can't claim to understand this fully, but he talks about these foundation models, and people write this code around them, some of which is orchestration, but some of which is just, we're trying to manipulate this thing into responding correctly in certain situations. And what they found was that the code that they and others are writing around these foundation models is brittle. And that's where things break all the time.
Yeah.
And what they found was that it turns out we probably just want to move the orchestrator into the model. That when it comes to orchestration, and this is true, actually, I think this is true of everything computing, frankly, but it's complexity that kills, right? Complexity is the problem. And the best orchestrators that he has seen are actually, he said, the simplest ones. And he says, that's the other important trend. He says, we have to get these things to be simple. And I think they are part of the model. They get bundled with the model, if that makes sense, or they're in the model. He described it as, it's weird the way this is a phrase I asked him to, make sure I understood this. He said the large language models end up eating the structure around them, including the orchestrators. And I was like, did you say eating? Like,
What does that mean?
And he said, yep. Yeah. He said I think what he really meant was it was breaking the code around the models. And what they found, I think, and again, I hope I'm not misquoting this, but I believe what he was saying was that in this sort of model first world, you have a simple orchestrator in the model, right? And because I approach this, like one of the things I see in Windows, when you think about the AI agent in settings, is instead of having like one model on the computer, we have these tiny models that do very specific things. They're optimized for that thing. An agent that is, a model that is optimized for grounded in all of the settings that are in the settings app sounds stupid to me in a way on one level. It doesn't seem like this is the optimal way to do it. But as it turns out, when you train the model to do this one thing, it just works because this is all it knows.
There's nothing to hallucinate on when you only do one thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a case for smaller focused models.
Let's say there are 2,000 commands in there. That is not a lot of data.
No.
So it has to have world understanding, language understanding. It has to understand that when you don't use the exact name of the feature or whatever, that you're talking about that thing. It has to make that connection so that there's training and there's the other stuff going on. But, and I asked him explicitly, does this mean that this is kind of the future? Instead of like the big God model in the sky, OpenAI, whatever we're on, it's thousands or whatever number of smaller models. He's like, well, not exactly, not exactly. Because, in the hybrid world, we're going to do both things. And it turns out in the cloud, maybe it does make more sense in some situations to have that kind of world knowledge, I guess I'll call it, the grounded in search, grounded in the internet, which is to me is not grounded, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the internet is not a thing.
Yeah. Grounded in the internet. Yeah. It was fascinating. He's just so great.
Yeah. Great guy to talk to.
Yep. I feel like we're about a year away from this podcast will be something that looks like what we're doing now, but it's actually going to be AI agents.
None of us will be here. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first step toward that is, I guess there has been a call from Microsoft's customers for Copilot to have some kind of identity, because people find themselves talking to Copilot, right, as they do to other AIs. Like they somehow, they've developed voices. And voices to me are like ringtones on your phone, where you go through all 180 of them, and they all aggravate the hell out of it. I hate them all. But you go through the voices that are available in Copilot in this case, and maybe you find one you like. Every one of them, like, not exactly. I'm not sure what I'm looking for exactly, but people do that and they customize it, and they're like, okay, but now I want to see it. I want this thing to look like a person. Yeah. And so the first step to that is they've introduced something called Copilot Portrait, which today is kind of cartoon-like. Not kind of, it's cartoon-like. It's rolling out in the US, UK, and Canada. It's an experiment. You have to kind of turn it on at Copilot Labs, right? But the idea is that it's not a sparkle. It's not a blob. It's not a circle. It's a thing. Like you look at
cartoon.
It's a clippy, one might say. A little paperclip. Would be the one I would choose personally.
I don't know if I'm going to turn that on, but all right.
Yeah, I'd rather turn on the one that makes me look like something. I'd rather, than I don't need to interact with something. But but I get it. People are people. They're it's fine.
Well, unless they're cartoons.
Unless they think they're people.
Can we take a minute before we go into Xbox here, guys? I just got to deal with a thing. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. We'll take a break. While we're doing that, maybe I'll talk a little bit about our club, ladies and gentlemen. We would love to have you join Club Twit. Boy, it's become more and more important to us. I don't know if you're aware of this, but what's happened in podcasting is that the big guys, the really, really big guys, are flourishing, and then a lot of the independent podcasts like ours are not. And I think now more than ever, independent media, not owned by a corporation, without any, being beholden to any big company, is important. This is the information you get when you hear journalists talking about stuff without any attachment to a big company, or without any, government agency telling them what to say, that kind of thing. So I really think it's important that we do what we do. And I also understand that doing it is going to require your help more than ever. 25% of our operating costs are now paid by club members. I'd like to see it be even more, because then it's the listeners paying for it. And we really owe nothing to anybody except you. I've always felt that way anyway. So let's make it real. Club Twit's $10 a month. There are corporate memberships. There are family memberships, so you can get more people involved for less. There's a year membership, which is $120, of course. And there's also a 2-week free trial if you want to see what it's like. The benefits are many. You get ad-free versions of all the shows. You get access to the Club Twit Discord, which is a really fun place to hang out, not just to talk about the shows that are going on, or even talk with our hosts. In this case, our hosts participate actively in the Club Twit Discord. But you can also join us special events that we do in the club. All of our keynotes are now part of Club Twit. We also have our AI user group that's coming up this Friday. Anthony Nielsen puts that on. I'll be there as well, and it's always a lot of fun to talk about AI and people who are using it. We have a lot of very active AI users in our audience. We do the photo show. That'll be next week with Chris Marquardt. That's Thursday the 9th. His photo assignment this month is solid, so you still have a week to take a picture that reflects the concept solid. Micah does his crafting corner. We've got the book club coming up. What a great book, A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine. If you haven't read it, you have time. It's October 17th. Lots of other things. In fact, Micah's one-shot adventure. He's going to do Dungeons and Dragons with us. Paul, you said you were kind of interested in participating.
I used to be a dungeon master.
What? Oh, well, maybe we should have you be the dungeon master.
No, I don't want to do that anymore.
Okay, well, you can participate.
Too much
I didn't
work.
know that.
Yeah.
So Paul and I and Micah, and I think there were other people, maybe Paris, I think, wanted to participate in this.
And of course, club members will do a Dungeons and Dragons game in the club. We want to make the club a fun place for you to hang out, and I think it is. And we do all this because A, we love you guys, and we really appreciate your support, and B, we want to give you an incentive for that $10 a month. I think you get value, but the main value I really like to say is that you are supporting the programming that you hear or watch on Twit. And without you, it wouldn't exist, or would exist in a different form. Club Twit, twit.tv/Club Twit. Consider this your personal invitation to join the club. Now, it's time for the Xbox segment with Paul Thurrott. Richard Campbell is back. And what should we talk about today, Paul?
Oh, boy. There's so much.
It's been a big Xbox week, really.
Yes. How exciting.
Yeah.
Good and bad. So Microsoft has added to, and I will say revamped, its Game Pass subscriptions a couple times. The most notorious so far, although this might rate, was last year when they replaced just what was Xbox Game Pass with, I think, what Xbox Game Pass Standard, I think was what they went. And what they lost there was the day one stuff, right? Which kind of was one of the central benefits of this, that if an Xbox Studio title came out for sale, you as the subscriber would get access to it on day one, which, if you really care about this stuff, is kind of an awesome perk, right? So that went away. And so going into today, the only subscription that offered that perk was Ultimate, and Ultimate was expensive. It was $19.99 a month. Originally probably it was $14. I don't remember the original price, but it was less before. But they've raised prices too, right? So anyway, today they are announcing a new revamping of this, and they're renaming the two of the three tiers, and they are dramatically raising the price on the third, which is not great. Obviously, I know. But they're also taking cloud gaming, which is the former Project X Cloud, out of beta finally. And to put that one in perspective, they announced this in 2018. Literally. They first made it available as a preview as Project X Cloud in 2019. I don't remember when they made the switch over to cloud gaming, but that happened at some point in there, and it's been sort of in beta ever since, and only as part of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, the most expensive tier. And yeah, depending on the game you were playing, maybe not the greatest experience because of latency and lag and all that stuff, but it depends. Some of that stuff works great, and some of it, in my experience, hasn't. And there's also issues around the quality of the games, like what is it exactly that's up there in the data center running these things? My understanding is that they were actually based on the Xbox Series X, but I'm not actually sure. But they were limited to 1080p, et cetera, et cetera. So as of today, we have three tiers still, or again, or something, I don't know. The entry level tier, which was Core before, which it had replaced Xbox Live Gold, right, at some point. Xbox Game Pass Core, $9.99 a month. A library of at least 50 games, but now across PC, console, and cloud, right? So not I'm saying that out loud. Let me make sure that's true. Yeah, not console only, right? Because remember, there used to be a PC Game Pass standalone kind of a thing. So now this is one that offers a library of 50 whatever games. That's pretty good. Unlimited cloud gaming, right? So this is the cloud gaming. This is the xCloud thing. So they're actually providing that as part of all of the tiers now. That's pretty cool. Some of the stuff is a little nebulous. In-game benefits, including Riot games. Like, okay. Online console multiplayer. Again, one of the weird things Xbox did from day one, well, from day two, I guess, when they did Xbox Live back in the day, you would play multiplayer games on a PC like you would today. No one's charging you for that as part of the, but because Microsoft was throwing up an infrastructure at the time to host those games, it wasn't multiplayer games hosted on servers out in the world. It was Microsoft hosting it. They charged for that as part of the Xbox experience or whatever. So that's now across all the tiers as well. I think it already was actually. And then this is the one that sounds like it might be okay, but it's like the ability to earn up to $25 in Xbox rewards for use in the Xbox Store. So in a year, what that means is as you play games, you get points, right? That go toward these rewards. And then you can use those points to buy things in the Xbox store. Now with $25, you're going to be able to buy about a third of a game, but you could use it for in-game purchases, I guess, or whatever. Like it's, and this is the cheapest tier, so it's the smallest amount, whatever. This is not something I know a lot about. I've not ever used rewards for anything. I don't know, but I have noticed in the Xbox app every month now you get a little, hey, you won some rewards, yay, whatever. The middle tier is Xbox I can't speak today. I'm sorry. Xbox Game Pass Premium. This replaces Game Pass Standard, which replaced Game Pass, right? So this one is a game library of over 200 games across PC, cloud, and console. Again, unlimited cloud gaming with shorter wait times. So a little bit of a perk there. This is crazy. New Xbox published games within a year of launch, right? So this is the old day one perk is now year one perk.
It's now year one perk, yeah.
Now, hopefully some of them will be quicker than we'll see. In-game benefits, including Riot Games, as before, console gaming, multiplayer, et cetera, et cetera. And then the rewards figures up to $50 in a year. So you're getting close to 2/3 the price of one game. If you play game enough, you get enough points, you can get a free game, maybe. Or free something, I don't know. And then Game Pass Ultimate is not being rebranded, but the price is going up to $29.99 per month. I just want to pause on that one for a second because this was already the most expensive tier. It was $19.99 a month. So it didn't go up to $24.99. It went up like a 50% price hike.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's do the math and see if it justifies. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I know it's
or half the price of a game. Like if you're buying 6 games a year, then this makes sense.
Well, yes. It's a little more nuanced because of the other stuff you might be interested in here, but we'll see. So this one is 75 plus day one games every year, including Xbox published games. So the distinction there is it's not just Xbox Studios games. They're suggesting there'll be third-party games that might.
Right. I'm sure
no one has bitten on that ever. So, but anyway, we'll see. Ubisoft Plus Classics, which as a standalone subscription is $16 a month. So that just whittles the price right down, I guess, if you're going to pay for buy. Okay. You get EA Play. There's something called Fortnite Crew coming out in November. That's $12 per month. You get that. So that's something I don't know anything about, but the notion that Epic or whomever feels like they could charge $12 a month for something related to Fortnite is hilarious to me, but okay. Unlimited cloud gaming at the best quality, which is now 1440p, which was not the case before. It used to be 1080p, and the shortest wait times. So yeah, we'll see. I'm going to have to test this one here. I'm curious about this. I haven't had a good experience ever playing something like a Call of Duty or Doom or something that's fast action, first person. Doesn't seem to work well over the cloud for me, no matter where I am. But
no, latency is still latency. You can't beat it.
Yeah, right? You're saying physics is a thing?
Yeah, it's weird.
That's a weird stance to take, man. In-game benefits, Riot Games, online console, et cetera, et cetera. The rewards figure is $100 a year. So that's more than a game. So if you play enough games, and I guess if you were doing this, you probably are, right? If you feel the need to pay $30 a month, geez. At $30 a month, let me think here. Yep, I think this is by far my most expensive monthly cost for like a digital service of any kind. I mean, like, even Spotify Family with the highest level or whatever, or Netflix Family with the highest level. I mean, it is less than. It's a lot of money. It seems expensive to me. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about a little bit more about this in the back of the book, but this is going to be a gut check moment for a lot of people. I've already seen an astonishing amount of negative feedback to this. We live in an era where these online services have not just proliferated like cancer, but they've raised prices multiple times a year.
Yeah.
And it's become a real problem. And it's causing people, not because it's not that they don't maybe want the things, but now that they're so expensive, they have to kind of pick and choose, And
I think it's part of it. I think people are in general getting better at, hey, go cancel this, right? Like, I don't think it's a bad thing.
100%. And Jeffrey Fowler writes for the Washington Post. I took this with this sort of humorous grain of salt. I think he intended it to be taken with, but he said he found that the best possible use for ChatGPT or AI in general was to use it to cancel subscriptions you don't want anymore, because those things are often like Byzantine. There's a page hidden somewhere on the Wall Street Journal website that actually lets you cancel that subscription. Right. I never found it, so I had to call them. And that was a fun time, But so, yes. Yeah. So this is causing some issues. I feel like when they dropped the day one perk last year, whatever time frame that was a big problem, because that to me was the central benefit of Game Pass. And when you head into them acquiring finally, as they did in October or whatever year, Activision Blizzard, there were these questions of like, you just spent $88 billion or whatever it was in this thing. What's the math on how many copies of Call of Duty do you not sell, and how many Game Pass subscription do you sell?
Right.
So those people can play this game where it actually makes sense financially. I think what they did when they ran the numbers, probably using like an AI agent in Excel, was found out that there is no version of that ever happening. And that's why they had to drop that, right? Mm-hmm. Because there are just certain games that just blow this model out of the water, Game Pass began as a place for game makers to earn money again on catalog titles, I guess is the term, older games that maybe people weren't actively buying anymore. And, and I think they filled that model, they did that and they were like, all right, what else can we do? And eventually they got so excited. They were like, all right, we're going to order day one games. Day one games is not a bad thing when you own the Halo Studios, I think it's called now, or the coalition that makes Gears of War, and you only have or Flight Simulator, whatever. You have like a handful of AAA blockbuster gotta have it games. But now that you have Activision Blizzard, you're like running the rack on that stuff, and it's like, oh, this doesn't actually make any sense. So to me, that was tough. The biggest issue, I like that you can get cloud gaming across tiers now. That's great. Mm-hmm. They didn't really raise the price, I guess, otherwise. But the Game Pass Ultimate one, geez, like I don't quite see where it makes sense. Like I don't
know who buys that. It's just a lot of money.
Too much. We would have gotten complaining at $24.99 a month. Mm-hmm. They don't even. I bet they don't even offer an annual thing anymore. That's a new thing too with subscription services. Like a lot of times they don't even let you do that. But $20 a month, that's $240 a year. So what if you could pay $200 a year? Which would be probably the standard discount if you paid all up front. Would that be a good deal? $20 a year, like even at $70, that's 3 games.
Yeah.
I play one game, even if Call of Duty is like $100, I'm saving money, and it's not,
And as the chat is reminding us, and you also don't own the games in these models.
Yes. I don't know why we're picking that nit. No, that's right. As soon as you stop paying, it's over, right?
It's gone. You have nothing.
So, which, depending on the game is fine. If you're playing a single player game, maybe you play through the campaign and you're done. You maybe don't ever want to do it.
Yeah, no. These days, most games, I fire up a Let's Play. If I can't finish a Let's Play, you can't buy the game. And hey, if I do finish a Let's Play, half the time it's like, now I've seen it, I don't want to play the game. There's very few games that at the end of a Let's Play, like, I got to play that.
Yeah, this is tough because everyone's a little different. Like, but since you're here, Richard, let me ask. Like, what do you play? Like, what kind? Like, do you tend to play one game all the time? Yep. Do you go from game to game, or like, how do you game? Like, what's your gaming thing? What's your?
I'm past reflex games. Not interested. Not fun. Don't need to be teabagged by 14-year-olds. And so
I kind of live for that, but go on. Yeah,
I like. I'll play the occasional story game. Like I played out Dredge. Twice actually, and did a little completionist action on it. It's a good story.
I'm trying to remember the last time I went through a game again.
Yeah, no, right? I actually picked it back up, did it again, and I've always got Kerbal Space Program running in the background because I call that a gardening game. Like I can pick it up for an hour,
but it kind of sits there going without you, sort of. If that makes sense.
Basically, it's one of those things where I have a bunch of scheduled missions that are running. So it's like, do I want to fast forward to the next mission moment, or do I want to set up another one?
So you have a gaming agent, is what I just heard.
No. What's that?
You have a gaming agent, essentially.
I don't. it's just a way to approach that game where, space is mostly a lot of waiting.
Right. Right. You're the guy at the company that sent the spaceship and alien out to wherever it was. And what you're saying is, let me know when you get there. Exactly. I don't care about the journey,
Well, and Kerbal in what they call the science mode, like they're literally giving you credits for achieving certain things. Do a flyby of this planetary body, land over there, that kind of thing. And so I can spend an hour and a half crafting that mission and then launch it. Once it's launched, it's going to fly for a couple of years, right? So okay. I mean, you're more like the guy from NASA doing the math on what do we have to shoot for if you're going to circle the moon and come back and you're going to make it, kind of thing. And then the other side of this is eventually you get close to the clock where, one of them's arriving now. Now you actually have to do that part of the thing arriving and so on, which is kind
of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, does time elapse more quickly at least?
I can choose to accelerate time. Like lots of people who play a mission where they literally build it, fly like it, speed it up to the. They're
like, when I'm 70, point. This thing's going to arrive at Mars or whatever planet.
And I'm not like that. I like having a dozen or so missions going at once, and I can sort of like, what do I want to tinker with today? Okay. But my attention span is short. I got maybe an hour to play something, so I got to be able to pick it up and put it down.
Call of Duty is unhealthy, but one of the things I like about that game, or that kind of game, is nothing matters, right? So if I get in, I'm like, all right, I'm going to take an hour and I'm going to play Call of Duty, and I'm playing blah, blah, blah. And I get this computer over here and my feed's going on. It's like Microsoft announces, I'm like, oh crap, this is happening. I can drop this immediately and it does not matter. There's no continuation of anything. It doesn't matter.
No long-term part of it.
So
Subnautica was the last time I watched a whole Let's Play of a game and then wanted to play the game.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So, Anyway, this one, they just announced this today. I didn't know this was coming ahead of time, so this one came out of nowhere for me. I might need a little more time. I've been looking at it. They have it's in my article about this, but there's a really helpful page on the Microsoft site or the Xbox site that compares the tiers. I wouldn't be surprised to discover that some people paying from one of the more expensive tiers at this point were like, I can move down now.
Yep. Well, and if somebody's talking about the fact that the cancel app, cancel service from Microsoft is crashing. So clearly a bunch of folks have decided that that's true.
We're going to have to bring some more Azure compute online.
There you go. Take a couple of those AI data centers and pointing at your Xbox subscription cancellation service.
Yeah. Well, this is not as, well, maybe it is. We're in a weird period with video games. But I feel like with AI, it's like fast and chaotic and we don't know what's happening. It's clear that the video game industry is also changing and they're adjusting this like they are with, Microsoft 365, right? To meet the perceived need that they see out in the world, et cetera, et cetera. Game Pass is more important now that the console business is not as important to them, right? And so they need to get this right. I don't know that we're going to see further adjustments quickly, but most of this to me is not a problem. The Game Pass $29.99 is, that's
it's a showstopper. I think for a lot of folks,
that one's tough.
And meantime, how much is this handheld going to cost?
Oh, so right. So the other big news is the ROG Xbox Ally, which is the first of the coming wave of gaming handhelds that run Windows, really, right? But the optimized special version of Windows. They're arriving in October 16th. The entry-level one is $599. The X version, the higher-end one, is $999, which is pretty expensive.
A lot of money.
Yeah. I've never experienced an AMD Ryzen Z series processor. These are the processors for the handhelds, right? So we're on the second gen of that now. If you had something like a Lenovo Legion was running on the first gen of that. There's a new Lenovo Legion coming out very soon as well, that will be upgraded to this OS eventually, but not immediately. The entry-level one is the Z2A processor, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage, 7-inch display, 120 hertz refresh rate, 60 watt-hour battery, $599. Okay. That's, $99 is tough, though. So this one is a Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme processor, which, again, I really don't have a frame of reference for this. The PC stuff is fantastic. This is very clearly based on that, but it's also designed for the efficiency and power management stuff you need on a mobile device. So, I don't know. 24 gigs of RAM, terabyte of storage, 7-inch full HD display, 128 20 hertz refresh rate. Jeez, I'm losing my language. 80 watt hour battery. There's some peripherals. They're all third party. These are things like SSDs, micro SD card, carrying case, whatever. Who cares? It is, I should say, available for pre-order in, I don't know, some huge number of countries, actually. It's not just like US, Canada, UK. That's good. This is an Asus product, so you can get it from their eShop. You can get it from Xbox.com. You can get it from Microsoft Store. There's no doubt, and I mean like 100% no doubt, that these things would have been $100 to $200 less expensive if it wasn't for tariffs and all the terribleness that has occurred this year.
Yeah.
But, this is part of the...
And didn't the Xbox mode for Windows leak as well ahead of this?
Yeah, so, right. So what he's referring to is the custom OS that is running on these things, right? Is a version of Windows that most of the background processes are not running. You boot into the Xbox app. Essentially, you've got this thing is running in compact mode, so it's kind of a full screen experience with game bar, also compact mode, and you can use the controller to navigate around everything. Like you don't have to. It's not the media center thing where every once in a while you have to grab a mouse and deal with the dialogue. That always ruined the experience, right? It's not like that. But they're going to make this available on Windows, right? So if you're a gamer, you might actually want this, like a version of Windows that consumes fewer resources, does fewer things, and then you could boot back into normal Windows, right? Or do something to go into normal Windows, get the desktop going, is valuable, right? And in an era where we have Steam Deck especially, but also I think the Switch factors in this a little bit, right? Where the Steam Deck is the closest one though, because it's a PC. Essentially, it's running Linux, right? You can put Windows on it, but people who have done that have all said the same thing. Like, yeah, we have more games, but they run more slowly because Windows consumes more resources, right? And so this is an attempt to give you the benefits of the Windows side of the experience. Plus, all the stuff Microsoft's been doing on the side, which impacts this, which is multi-store compatibility, where you have like Epic Game Store, Steam, whatever's in there. So you have one interface that we access all your games. It's good. Will be available if you want it, right? So it's not today. There might be little hacky registry things you can do to make it happen. I'm going to look into this soon. I am curious about this.
Yeah.
But like I've been
into a server edition.
Yeah, it's right. Like server core edition for like gaming mode or whatever. You put into like a command line and type like Doom exe or whatever.
I made my handheld into a web server.
Well, maybe I don't know. I'm curious about this. So, but I've been talking about this a lot. We're coming up on 2 years this December, where mainstream PC laptops have suddenly gotten much better at playing games. It's not the AAA, all effects on, awesome, 120 frames a second kind of experience, but you can play modern games like the latest Call of Duty at, depending on the processor, computer, anywhere from 30 to 70 frames per second, with some range of graphical defaults. It's good. Like the experience is very good. So like a business class laptop. So I feel like this could work, so we'll see. And then, like I said, Lenovo is going to get this experience on their Legion 2, and there'll be others, right? CS is coming up. There'll be definitely more of these. And hopefully this isn't like a come and go thing like the 8-inch Windows tablets that were going to change everything for 10 seconds back in 2013 or whatever year that was.
For a hot minute.
But we'll see. So anyway, if you want that, it's happening. You're going to be able to get it soon, but you won't be able to get it at Costco. Costco is not selling Xbox consoles anymore. And I feel like in the retail world, they might be a sort of canary in the coal mine thing, because if you're not familiar with Costco, they're one of the better places to buy something because they have such great customer service and exchange and return policies, right? If that makes sense. So you can go to a place locally, if you have one near you, buy a thing, whatever it might be. They have a great electronics section and computers and speakers and phones and whatever else. And they have a much more liberal return policy, right? And so I'm actually wondering if it isn't some combination of Microsoft unable or unwilling to meet the demand for whatever number of devices that isn't just about selling something to a customer, but also about having something there that they can give to the customer when the thing they have fails,
right?
Which is the thing that Costco is good at, right? And I think Xbox might have just kind of phased out of being able to do that with consoles. If they're
getting rid of them, Costco wants to keep the rest of your stock to replace out failure, so you can keep the money, and and wind it down because it's going away. Like, don't be caught with the last units.
I mean, I don't know if you follow Microsoft advertising, but they still sell PlayStation 5s at Costco, and that's an Xbox now. So sorry. Sorry. What's an Xbox? I don't know. What's a computer? Yeah. And speaking of PlayStation 5, Flight Simulator 2024 is coming to the
which is an impressive simulation.
Yeah, it really is. And it will probably look freaking great on the PlayStation 5 because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
not a reason to buy one, but yeah.
It's going to be awesome. You know, like, I'm sure it's awesome. And we're going to see more and more of this. You know, several years ago, Microsoft did a Master Chief collection on Halo, and you know they're working on one. Like, you know they're doing it again, and they're gonna, you know Halo is coming. You know Gears of War is coming.
Oh,
like,
sure.
You know it is. Like, it's
their money.
This is inevitable. Yep. And again, not to just keep hammering on this, but I mean, for a gamer, if you play single player, it doesn't impact you in the slightest. Who cares? If you play multiplayer, it impacts you positively in a great way. Like, having more people, a wider audience in those games is what keeps them alive for years and years. Like, that's super valuable. I love killing PlayStation guys and play Call of Duty. It's the best. You know, I hate those people. No,
that's hilarious.
I can't. I mean, you can.
We got 15 minutes left, guys.
Yes, so I'm sorry.
Move on.
Sorry.
So, I apologize for doing that.
I know. I was nervous going into this episode because there's so much happening.
Jam-packed.
Crazy.
Jam-packed.
Electronic Arts, EA, announced that it was being acquired by a consortium of investors. So they're going private, and our old buddies Silver Lake are part of this. And so Silver Lake,
this is the Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Yeah, those guys.
Probably even more.
Yeah, those guys too. The orchestrators of such fun events as 9/11.
Yeah.
So maybe. Dell did this, right? Like, Dell was a publicly traded company. They helped, with the help of Silver Lake, were able to take themselves private again. But now this, assuming this goes through, and I think it will, $55 billion transaction. So not as big as Activision Blizzard, but they're going private. So this is the single
they have
biggest
to buy all the stock out.
buyout, in history, right? And it's big. This, it's too easy. It's too easy. It's too early and too easy to say how this is going to impact this company, because EA is famous for the sports titles, right? Madden, et cetera, et cetera.
Although they've not done well. They lost the FIFA contract in 23. They haven't done an NBA in a decade. I went and checked all of these because I was just like, where are they making their money? It's Madden and NHL.
It's Madden. Okay. Yeah. Madden.
That's mostly Madden. Yeah.
Associated with Madden is their Call of Duty, I guess, Basically. So this is a game that gets revved every year. They obviously have special contracts with players. They do realistic, play, not just the way they look, but the way they move, and they do things
how they move. Yeah.
Yeah. So, one thing that's come up a lot on this show is this notion of AI in game creation. And when you think about like an open world game and how it could just generate side quests and new terrain and new things as you go, very easy to imagine. When I think of like a game like Call of Duty, you could pump the collective multiplayer titles over the last 25 years, whatever it's been, into this thing and say, look, some of these things have been super successful. Some of them have not. Let's make more of the types that are successful. And they would pump these things out, probably pretty good. And I have to say, like, I think one of the problems for EA is going to be that AI will be very good for the stuff that they do, frankly, but that's going to be very bad for their employees, right?
I would also say that EA has a history of sucking at innovation. They are good at buying successful titles and then pumping them for all they're worth. So looking to them as the company that's going to be able to bring new technology to the field, I would not bet on that at all.
I mean, they do have a handful of other games, like non-sports.
They got Apex Legends, so they tried to get on the Fortnite.
Yeah,
game.
They're Battlefield, right?
Yeah, they got Battlefield. They got Star Wars Battlefront.
Yep.
They've got Lucasfilm.
Yeah, so they have other things. I mean, so they
got
do
Bejeweled. Ooh.
Bejeweled.
No,
is still
I mean,
around?
I'm looking for the Battlefield Bejeweled tie-in. Like you kill someone with a gun and it explodes into jewels
in them. That's what it is. Remember, EA is also one that ran afoul of the EU for their gambling with kids, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess part of what broke FIFA.
Right.
There's some reason it's worth $55 billion, and maybe that's it.
So the two big problems. Well, the two big problems for gaming before AI were gambling and pay for play, right? This notion of like you can pay for Premium. A bucket or something that then gives you access to something other people are working toward. EA, I mean, okay. So we'll see. I don't know. This is another one. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll see if it goes through too, but I imagine it will.
I think it will. Yeah, I think it will. I think the video game industry is in trouble.
Who's going to stop it?
Out. Yeah. The FTC? Oh, boy.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. You're watching Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott, Richard Campbell, and we have come to the back of the book. So let's...
Yeah, I'm going to blow through this quick. We're running out of time. I keep screwing Richard over, so I hate this. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I screwed you over. We started late. It's fine.
Okay. Well, I can only control what I control. So anyway, video games are getting expensive. This Xbox Game Pass thing is one indication. The game's going very quickly from $59.99 to $6.99 to $70.99. Like, where does it stop? Off the top of my head, just really quickly, there are some ways you can save money if you're a video game fan. If you're not doing this, I've mentioned this before, but please pay attention to Amazon Prime Gaming every month because they have all these free titles that it's basically because if you're a Prime member, I should say, you have the ability to, you get this game for free and it applies to your account wherever that game might be sold or contained. So in other words, a lot of these things are like GOG.com or Xbox/Microsoft Store or other game stores. Some of them are actually just from Amazon, right? And so it's just worth keeping an eye on in the same way that Epic's Game Store is worth keeping an eye on in the PC space, again, because for the same reason, but they typically give away a couple of games a month. Amazon is giving away sometimes dozens. Like it's definitely worth looking at. If you just want to stock up on things and these subscriptions get too expensive, you need to take a break, whatever, this is something to look at. Also, Xbox and Sony in the console space both have really good indie game programs. These are good to look at. I mean, some of the best games I've ever played are actually indie titles. They tend to be a lot less expensive. Plus, you're more, it's going to a person or a small team of people, not some giant corporation spending, $1 billion on a game every year. Yeah. Is a way to look at it. And I sort of alluded to this earlier, but if you are a Game Pass subscriber right now, I'd go look at the charts, and maybe you can, move down a notch. Maybe you don't need the. If you can
get that client to even load right now, but yeah,
maybe not do it today. This is just speaking generally. I mean, I'm sure other people have other ideas. This is maybe something I might write this up formally just to maybe look into this a little deeper. I do think. No, I don't think it's a fact. Subscription service is generally more expensive. Gaming industry is in trouble. Like I said, there's issues here. So. Just something to look into.
Awesome.
I just saw an email while we were doing the show that Brave, the browser, has surpassed 100 million users across desktop and mobile. That's pretty good. Nice. I always recommend Brave. Proton, love that company. I think their first product ever was Proton Mail. Their mobile clients were okay. They just completely revamped them. They're built on the same Rust-based code base, by the way, on Android and iOS, which allows them to keep them updated more quickly and synced together, which has been a problem. So if you use Proton Mail, definitely check those out. And they are going to be doing a similar update on the web and desktop soon as well. So something to look into.
Awesome.
Excellent. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's think about Run as Radio.
I did an easy one this week, which was with my friend Troy Hunt.
I love Troy Hunt.
Yeah, yes. Talking about Have I Been Pwned, but specifically for sysadmins. So most people know Have I Been Pwned as the free service you sign up to that lets you know when you show up on breach lists. Troy lives in this weird gray area now where it's not a real hack until Troy Hunt has endorsed it. Yeah, no, that's real new data that's been leaked. But there are services you can pay for from Have I Been Pwned. And one of them really, administrators is like, hey, you can validate any password coming in to say, is this in a breach list so that you can push back on them? But one of the services that's gotten really important is when customers are signing up to your site to sort of rate their risk based on the quality of the password. So you can lean against his service to actually assess that and say, hey, am I going to require 2FA on that guy? Or, what's their risk factor on all of those sorts of things? Are they using good passwords or not? He's got the tools for all of that. So it's just another aspect getting past just breach monitoring. Although, again, you can breach monitor entire domains with his services as well. But this idea of I want to assess risk factors on customers, I thought was a really interesting angle and worth talking about on the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Troy's legend, of course.
Brilliant guy. Really, really awesome conversation.
Nice. Well, that brings us to the whiskey segment.
Yeah. And this is sort of a continuation on last week. So last week I talked about High Coast, which used to be known as the Box Distillery, and they had to change it because of these guys, Compass Box. And the fact that I have a very dear friend who recently turned 60. And so I went and got him a Compass Box whiskey. So Compass Box is not a distiller. They are a bottler. They were founded in 2000 by a guy named John Glazer. It's very much a legend in the industry. He used to be the marketing director at Johnny Walker. And the apocryphal story goes that in the 2000s, by the way, an American working in Scotland, and he pressed on Diageo, who owned Johnny Walker at the time, to make some higher end blended whiskeys, which his boss said, great idea, not the right time in the market, so no. And so his answer was to leave and do it himself. And by the way, he's all over YouTube. If you look up his name and Compass Box, they make a lot of cool videos. And he has this great line where he says, hey, I'm just trying to fight against the single malt hegemony, right? The point being selecting great barrels of whiskey from great whiskey makers and then making awesome luxury, expensive blends. So, and they sort of fall into three categories. The highest end would be the blended malts, which is literally a blend of single malts. Then there's blended Scotch, which can be both single malts and grain alcohol. And then blended grades, which is primarily grain. And so Glazer's also big on the fact that in 2000, when he was doing this, the 90s had been a slow time for whiskey. And so a lot of distilleries had a lot of barrels that had been laid up for a long time that they weren't able to sell. And so he was able to acquire a lot of whiskey. And now 25 years on, those numbers are starting to go down, which speaks to what's happened the past few years at Compass Box. So they've won all kinds of awards. They had 2 decades of just making really cool high-end blends. But in 2022, Calum Capital, which is run by an ex-Diageo guy who's on the investment side, acquired a majority stake in Compass Box and brought in a guy named Maurice Doyle, who's also an old school whiskey guy. William Grant worked for Suntory and Bacardi and so forth. But I think they were very much addressing the fact that there's less and less availability of old whiskey to acquire and blend. And so they simplified the line just down to a few different whiskeys. And last year, Glazer himself actually stepped back. He's still a major shareholder, but he's not working day to day. And now this year, Maurice Doyle's also moved on. So one of the younger generation a guy named James Saxon, has largely been running the show at Compass Box now. And it turns out that Saxon's actually responsible for the whiskey that I'm talking about today, which is a whiskey called Vellicore. Now, Vellicore is an invented word, although that's true of all words. There's a guy named John Koning who has a book called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. And really, it's a collection of words he thinks should exist. And Vellicore is one of them, being a synthesis of vellum and ichor, or the smell of paper. His actual description is the strange wistfulness of used bookstores, which are somehow infused with the passage of time filled with thousands of old books you'll never have time to read, each of which is locked in its own era, bound and dated and papered over like an old room the author abandoned years ago, a hidden annex littered with thoughts left just as they were on the day they were captured. Now, the question is, can you actually make a whiskey that captures that idea? Now, what's cool about the bottle is that it actually comes in a book jacket, so it looks like a book, and then you pop it open. It was only made once, and in January 22, 3,246 bottles made, and it is a blend of about 13, 14 barrels. So there's 8 barrels of 25-year-old Highland Park, making up 38% of the blend. Then 2 barrels of what they call a blended malt parcel. So that's already combined whiskey that they added to this. A barrel of blended Scotch parcel. 2 first fin barrel bourbon casks from a 23-year-old Macallan. And then 1 hogshead of a 37-year-old Kyle Ela, which is a peated whiskey. So let me tell you about drinking this. It's at 44.6%. It's not real burning, but it's got a little scent to it, like old leather and paper.
It smells like a secondhand bookshop.
Like an old bookstore. I swear amazing. To God, man, like an old bookstore.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. And gentle to drink, just in a remarkable blend, just a really profound sip of whiskey. And its price reflects that, about $400 US. But to be clear, very good friend. And so I was happy to give it to him. He's an old bookstore kind of guy. And not hugely passionate about whiskey. He's drank plenty with me, but he's not into it the way that I would be. Not that I know that anyone is. But he did appreciate this, and we had a drink together. And
now, here's the question. Do you tell him how much you paid for this? Or
I would not, but he can easily discover that if he wishes to.
Yes.
But
it just looks expensive, and that's what
I mean, when it comes in a wrapper like that, and Compass Box is well known for gorgeous bottles and clever
really
names.
Beautiful. Yeah,
that and unique editions, many unique editions. Although again, I think we may be at the end of the road for Compass Box, so I'm kind of glad to have bought arguably the most expensive whiskey they've ever produced and had a chance to experience. So just because we're at a different time with the popularity of whiskey today. The chance of blending these old barrels together is pretty rare. The weird thing about a 37-year-old barrel, it takes 37 years to make it.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of them.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, they're middle-aged.
Yeah.
So it's not just marketing when they say hints of leather, polished furniture, and the crackling dustiness of decades-old books.
I'm not the guy who goes down those crazy tasting languages. I've always laughed at people who do that. It's like, I get a sense of pencil shavings. And, I don't even understand that. Did it drink nice? Did it hurt me? How did it feel as I swallowed? I'd like a little sip and the smell.
Yeah.
I love the craftsmanship of whiskey. I do like stuff that tastes good and is enjoyable to drink. And this was all of those things. And for the price, by golly, it ought to be. Right?
By golly, yes.
And so, you talk about what's a whiskey you buy as a gift for a friend. Well, for this friend, this was the
Vellicore. I love the name too.
Vellicore, yeah. And literally, I think that word's actually going to make it to the Oxford. It's like petrichlor. This, the scent of green grass after rain. Vellicore. I think it's a perfect word.
Because vellum, of course, is the old book binding.
Stroke-a-core, the feeling you have when you have copper in your mouth.
Taste of blood after a fight. Yes.
Is anyone else tasting blood? No. Okay.
That's burnt.
Can you get it in the U.S. or
Yeah, I can. I mean, only 3,000 bottles ever made. It is distributed. They have a big U.S. contingent. You will go to a specialty retail for this. Right. I don't expect to find it at Total Wine or anything like that.
No, Whiskey Exchange apparently has it. So.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Those guys are pretty good.
Yeah, 400 pounds. Okay,
400 pounds. Yeah,
nice.
But generally speaking, Compass, you will the most popular Compass box is one called Hedonism, and you can find that at a Total Wine or a Betflow and so forth, $50 to $100 depending on the edition.
Let me just convert this over to US.
They're pretty close.
Yeah, you can get it $459. Yeah. You can get it from Whiskey Exchange. So there you go.
There you go.
So if you've got somebody who likes old books.
Yeah. And again,
just the smell of old books.
Yeah. A special kind of whiskey too. So for the right person. Ken's that kind of friend.
That's really awesome. Yeah. Richard Campbell can be found at runisradio.com. That's where .NET Rocks also lives. 2 great podcasts and 1 great website. Thank you, Richard. Great to see you. Are you leaving for somewhere?
Next week in Orlando, the week after that in Lisbon, the week after that in Trondheim, the week after that in Utrecht.
Nice.
And then it's off to New Zealand.
Holy cow. So this is your last week at home for quite some time.
I went to 2 places and I'm going to be down for a month.
I know. Look at this guy.
I know.
He's amazing.
How he does it. You're too old to be doing this, man.
The November run is taking the grandchild to meet all the family. So while she's still small and portable, we're going to bring her around, but we'll be able to do the show.
Yeah, it's a long flight. Once they get older, you really don't want to take them.
Yeah, it's not going to be any fun. So we're in a narrow window.
But she'll sleep right through that. Yeah,
I imagine. We got the direct 15 hours. So.
Paul Thurrott, who has spent 15 hours just
complaining about traveling. I mean, pretty much.
He is, of course, at thurrott.com. The 2 of them join together every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC to do Windows Weekly. We stream it live as we're doing it. If you're a member of the club, you can see it in the Club Twit Discord. Otherwise, the public can see it on YouTube, Twitch, X.com, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Kick. But that's only if you want to watch live. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available at our website, twit.tv/WW. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to it. Great way to share clips with friends. And of course, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast client. That's always the best way to do it. And if you decide to subscribe, whether it's the audio or the video, it's free. Do leave us, though, a little payment in the form of an excellent review saying how much you love this show and how much everyone should listen to it, because that helps us a lot. Thank you, everybody. A special thanks to our Club Twit members who make this show possible. Paul, Richard, we'll see you next week wherever you might be.
I hope to be right here.
And go back to your corn coffee and your sweet potato
my
pie.
corn coffee? Oh, my corn coffee, yes.
Your corn coffee. And we will see you all next week on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye, everybody.